If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera. No strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you, or reach out to me, and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today, or reach out to me. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you. Hey folks, Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut. Want something better than Ring, Arlo, Brink, or any of the other quick launch home security systems? I've been having trouble with my Ring products. They don't read license plates on moving vehicles, the link doesn't connect fast enough to my phone, and I'm tired of getting notifications only to see like a glimpse of something that set it off. I was reached by a veteran-owned business called Sgt Security. The owner, the staff, all veterans or former cops. They're kind of like the Chick-fil-A of customer service when it comes to security. They have a system that does everything companies like Ring do and more. They have pivoting cameras that track day or night. They can also read license plates and catch high-definition details that will lead police more effectively to catching the offender. Their mission is providing the best home security systems to their customers. All you have to do is start the conversation to protect our most valuable assets, our families. They listen to your needs and come up with perfect customized security solutions to protect what matters to you most. You can contact them by phone at 713-962-3558 or email info@agentsecurity.com or visit their website, agentsecurity.com. That's AGENTSECURITY.com. They serve the greater Houston area, North Texas, and more. Be sure to tell them that Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut sent you. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Impact Tactical. Impact is a tactical outfitter for the men and women of our military, police, fire departments, and other public safety around the country. Impact's core beliefs is that fearless men and women protect our freedom and safety should have access to the best tactical performance apparel, equipment, and tools on the market. And they shouldn't have to go broke to get it. I've used Impact for about 11 years, and I can attest that they do live up to their core values. So you get a personal recommendation from me. You can find them at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com. And be sure to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HRH Combat Arms. They can turn your vision into reality. They specialize in gunsmithing and Cerakoting. Your Cerakote specialist is Air Force veteran and retired police sergeant Paul Ware, a.k.a. the Sarge. He can Cerakote your firearms, auto parts, tools, even your sports equipment. This veteran-owned business is located at 5025 Saunders Suite 103, Fort Worth, Texas 76119. You can call them at 682-304-0363, and you can find them online at www.hrhcombatarms.com. That's www.hrhcombatarms.com. All right, welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and today I have the one, the only, Mr. D, Douglas Dempsey, your United States Air Force specialist. Sir, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you, man.
Glad you came out.
Thank you for having me.
Very, very, very influential man in the United States Air Force. We'll get into all of that stuff, but for those listening, if you want to figure out if this is an episode that you want to listen to, basically we're going to get into ways to deal with PTSD. We're going to talk about leadership, more specifically towards the military, but it applies across the board in first responder careers. And so that's what's coming down the pipe. This may be a long one. This may be a short one. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a long one. Mr. D is actually staying at a hotel just around the corner. We planned on making this a long haul. He came all the way up from San Antonio in his rig, his Jeep. We're also going to get into that because Douglas Dempsey here, he also has a podcast, or not a podcast, a YouTube channel. Yes. So he does his he does overlanding stuff in a Jeep, a real Jeep, not a Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, not a Commander, an actual Jeep. There's only one Jeep, and that's a Wrangler, two-door, four-door. Yeah, the Rubicon. So, in my opinion, I've had 3 Jeeps in my life. So, that was my first vehicle. It was an '89 Sahara.
Oh wow,
edition.
I love it.
Yeah, back in the day. It was the Hawaiian Islander.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it had the graphics on the side.
I'll give you that. It had Jeep on the side.
Yeah,
so
89, carbureted, straight nice. 6. Yeah, buddy.
Awesome.
Chicks loved it, man. In high school, everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted to ride in a Jeep.
I was not that guy. I had a 1965 Volkswagen Beetle, and chicks didn't really dig it. But hey,
not big into the Beetles.
No.
Oh man, yeah. It was one of those things. I didn't know I had a cool car. It was school that told me I had a cool car because I could take the door. It's all I knew.
Right.
Like that Jeep was my.
And that was your first vehicle.
That was my first vehicle.
That's amazing.
That was my stepdad's. That was his main mode of transportation.
Also, it was passed down to you.
And yeah, he wanted to get a new truck. He got one of the Dodge Rams when the Rams first, like the Dodge Sport. I think it was like 98, 99.
Okay.
And Dodge had just revamped their trucks and had these cool new forest green trucks that everybody loved. So he got that truck and I got that Jeep. They made me save up. They said whatever I saved up, they would match. Well, I don't think they expected me to save up $5,000.
That is so insane because I had a Dodge Ram and I traded it in for my Jeep. So
there you go. And now I drive a Dodge Ram. This is just a circle. It just keeps going back around. But yeah, that ended up being my first vehicle. And lo and behold, people are like, man, that thing's so cool. It's so cool. I can't believe you got a Jeep. And I'm sitting here thinking like, it sucks because you can't get on the freeway without like shit in your pants while all these cars go flying by because it doesn't get up to speed very quick.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you hit 70 miles an hour.
They're not built for speed.
Not
for sure.
at all.
No.
And, it's a pain in the ass to take the top on and off, the hard top and the soft top. And it's not a quiet ride.
No.
Not at all. There's no comfort.
If you hear me, well, you might have heard it when I pulled up to your house. It was, definitely not quiet.
No.
But
well, as soon as you were coming around the block, I was like, he's here. I hear him. Yeah. And Jeeps have a distinct sound, so I knew you were coming. But yeah, man, I love Jeeps. Love them. But
me too.
I like that you're doing all that. But before we get too deep in the woods, sir, I have a plethora of beverages here. So I kind of want to go over that with you, and you can decide what you want to partake in.
Yeah, please do.
So I bought this Heaven's Door. It's a bourbon. It's a 57.8 ABV. So 115.6 proof. You'd basically be getting the last glass on that
see
guy.
That looks like it's a popular choice because it's almost gone.
Yeah, it was good. I had never heard of it, never had it, and I like to try new things. So I got that one. I've got Blue Note, which I'm a big fan of Blue Note. I drink a lot of Blue Note. This is the regular, but they came out with a Texas edition. And it's the unfiltered type. So
wow.
It's 121.2 proof. So it will sit you on your ass if you're not careful. It's delicious. I've had it. And then I told you today I happened to score. So folks, if you're listening, I got my favorite whiskey again.
I got Smoke Wagon, unfiltered, uncut. It is delicious, but take a look at that bottle, dude. Tell me that is not the most old school.
Yeah.
When you think of the Wild West in whiskey.
If you close your eyes and thought of Smoke Wagon and then opened them, that's what I would think.
That's what you think, yeah. So that is
You can finish your lineup, but I will tell you right now, I think my mind is made up.
Yeah, okay.
The fact that you went and got this today, the fact that the bottle is selling me.
Yeah.
But,
It's no, that was the end. That was the end of the line for this. But
Smoke Wagon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you'll have as well?
Oh, you know I'm going to have.
Oh, you heard that pop?
Yeah. Smell. So I can't wait to.
Now, is this like wine? Do we like circle it around and smell it, or we just go for it?
It's whiskey, bro.
That's smooth.
At the end of the day, to me, it's whiskey.
That is smooth. And I like your balls, by the way.
Thank you.
Ice balls. Ice balls. Yeah,
yes.
they're very nice.
I mean, I'm sure you like my balls too. So.
Oh, I just violated protocol. Cheers.
Salud, sir.
Salud.
He said I violated protocol.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah. Tell me that doesn't hit right.
That hits nice.
Yes, sir.
We'll set that right there. And
just so you're aware, I like to grab the Yetis and put some extra ice cubes in there. Mm-hmm. You see that this space is a lot smaller than what you thought it was going to be. And this is my new soundproof blanket.
I like it.
So any of my listeners or viewers that like to watch this stuff, I had an old blanket that was in the house. I was trying to soundproof that. I had a lot of echo problems. That's why you see the Texas blanket in the background there. These are all sound panel things. I'm just trying to improve the sound for y'all. But the blanket I had on here, it had cat hair all over it because the cat wouldn't fucking leave it alone. So I was like, what do I do? So somebody's like, why don't you get a moving blanket? Moving blankets work really well for sound. I was like,
Harbor Freight or wherever.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's brilliant. So for like $40, I bought this off of Amazon and I put it on here today. And you know, the lines kind of break up the look
it
a
really
little
does.
bit.
I think it serves both purposes. It's very functional, but yet it's also kind of guy chic, right?
Yeah. It's got that man appeal to it.
It does,
right?
for sure.
Kind of like the guns and the whiskey.
I love it.
Yeah.
And the helmet.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. You know the Star Wars had to be there. I mean, you played with my dogs, Kylo Ren and Leia. So, I mean, I'm full of it, man. All right. We before we get into your story, you got here and you met the family and stuff, and then we had to do it right. I was like, you drove all the way up here. It's a 4-hour drive.
Yeah,
I was like,
4 hours.
Let's say in a Jeep, in a regular vehicle, it's probably 3.5 to 3 hours. But
yeah, it was not a quick trip.
Yeah,
70 miles an hour is about as fast as Ruby goes comfortably. I just like to keep her dialed in at 70, and people were flying by me, and it's Texas freeways, right? Even when it was 65, I was doing 70, and people were around me. So
yeah. Just stay in the middle.
I'm retired, so I don't care.
There you go. Yeah,
slow and steady.
Stay in your lane.
That's it.
That's a term that is not so much in the civilian world that you all need to just adopt. It's a good term.
Slow and steady. Oh, stay in your lane. Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
Yep.
We use that shit all the time. Like, Sarge, you really gonna let him do that? Stay in your fucking lane. I got this.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. And then people need to do more of that. Just stay in your lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not your concern. Just
Yep. Fuck it, drive on.
Yep.
But we decided to go out to eat. We're going to do a little pre-game hanging out, just catching up a little bit. We are talkers, so I knew it was not going to be an issue of us burning all of our material.
No, hell no.
And your shirt sparked some conversation while we were out at the Tipsy Oak. Shout out to Tipsy Oak.
Yeah, it was great.
Good restaurant, huh?
Amazing food. Just the atmosphere there that's my cup of tea. It's your cup of tea too, right? Yeah. Just regular guys, regular gals, down to earth spot, simple food, but the vibe was really amazing. And I love places like that, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
And this guy here sprung for chow. So I want to point that out. It was I like a free meal.
Hey, you drove all the way up here.
I love
least
a free
I
meal.
Could do. And I didn't have to bring my wife with me, so I
okay.
I just that would have normally been what would have happened anyway. So I didn't really spring anything, sir.
Okay.
But so we're standing there and a guy comes walking by wearing the same shirt, different color, but the same shirt. And they're like, oh man, that shirt, the whole thing. And Dempsey was like, I'm going to get a selfie with that dude. I'm like, all right, dude, do it up. We're people persons, so it made sense. So as he's doing that, they get their selfie and, we introduce ourselves. And lo and behold, this man was in TAC-P. And his buddy that's with him was in the Marine Corps also. In whatever the Marines call their
JTAC or whatever.
Yeah, JTAC. So if you're wondering, like, what the hell's TAC-P? TAC-P is basically when the planes come in to drop bombs, there's a unit on the ground that's, one, making sure that the situation's okay. Like, we're not going and killing a bunch of civilians on a target. So they're down there monitoring that. But they're also putting the targeting system on the bombing location. So it's a pretty badass unit. They're always attached to Navy SEALs, Green Berets, any specialized unit in the military you can think of. So JTAC and TAC-P are no joke. And so we sat there and we sat with two, badass patriots. And
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Can I give a shout out real quick to one of my buds? He is actually a former TAC-P man. So
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to Eric Holman if you're listening, a.k.a. Crash, longtime buddy of mine. He's a rebel without a cause, but he went into the pipeline training, cross-trained from security forces into TAC-P. He wasn't old, but for TAC-P, for spec ops standards, he was old. He was in his 30s, and a lot of people didn't think he was going to make it through the training, and he persevered and ended up going down range and doing some pretty amazing things. And I haven't talked to him forever, but he knows he's my bud. So, Eric, if you're watching, dude, shout out to you and your TAC-P community. We met another one of you guys today, and he was just like you, down to earth.
Yeah.
Didn't bring it up. We had to kind of pull it out of him, and we know what you do. So,
well, we had to brag. We're the cream of the crop. We're security forces. So.
Exactly. Stick forward. But yeah. And he was pretty cool. He was like, "Oh, it's security forces." Oh, yeah, okay, you guys are cool. But,
right? Yeah. Nobody speeds on our base.
No, exactly.
Nobody. They were good dudes. So I threw him the whole podcast pitch. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I'd love to get you on." And he was playing. He's playing. You hear my dog?
I hear him, man.
He's probably somebody outside.
Somebody's breaking in here.
No. Yeah, he got to meet Kylo, my 100-pound Doberman. He's a pushover, but he likes to act up. But so I threw the guy the pitch, and I was like, "Hey, here's my schedule. If you ever want to do the podcast." And then just as we were leaving, I'm glad we talked to him one more time because I was able to clarify.
Yeah.
I said, dude, I'm not trying to get you on there to give away trade secrets. I'm more or less, I want you to educate people on what you do to maybe inspire somebody to do your job later.
Exactly.
Because we need people to sign up to do that. Because I would have never signed up to do that.
No. And like I told him in the place, people need to know, the public needs to know, even the first responder community. You think a lot of times your law enforcement guys and your paramedics, a lot of them, I'm not going to say the vast majority, I don't have statistics, but a lot of them are prior military, right?
Yeah.
And they don't understand what the Air Force does. They don't understand what a TAC-P does. We're the chair force.
Yeah, we're the chair force.
We're in a studio where we're 9 to 5, and that's just simply not the case. So I love when guys like that will kind of come, and they don't have to divulge trade secrets, so to speak. But when you start talking that lingo that Navy SEALs and Army Rangers and other guys understand, and the local community understands that, oh, wow, I didn't know the Air Force did that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was, it's so weird. Just small world.
Small world.
And we're sitting there, the first time we've met up in, about a year, and all of a sudden we run across a TAC-P guy, and, fellow,
it is a small world.
Air Force defender, basically. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't get too butthurt about people making fun of the Air Force because I know it's just like the Coasties. People make fun of Coast Guard. Man, they do some badass stuff.
They do,
breaching pirate ships and whatnot,
and just their rescue efforts. Their search and rescue efforts. Man, it's amazing.
Because I'd never do that.
No,
I don't like swimming. That's why I joined the Air Force.
Yeah,
literally, that was the main reason. No swimming involved.
And that's crazy, man, because I tell people all the time, my number one worst fear is just that it's dark water. Swimming pool, a lake, I'll swim all day long.
You can see the shore.
Yes, but dark water, ocean water, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
I never want to be that guy that the boat goes down and you're on a tube for 3 days in the ocean. That would really freak me out.
It'd be nice just to have the tube.
I would rather take my chances with this guy
Sasquatch.
Here, yes, than,
Yeah. I'm with you, man. There's something primal behind that.
For sure.
There's something it's like being in the woods in the nighttime, with no lights or whatever.
Exactly.
There's something.
Well, and a lot of it's mental too, because, on land, you think, you read all the time about these grizzly attacks, right? And if a bear of any sort attacks you, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
But mentally, you think, okay, I'm on land, so I have a chance. I can run, I can climb a tree, I can play dead, I can hide. When you're in the water and you're, there's nothing below you but depths, and the shark comes up, there's nothing you can do. You're not going to fight a shark.
No.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah.
You're fucked. You're just going to sit there and get eaten. And that's a scary notion.
Yeah. I hope he bites clean and it just bleed out quick. Let me go into that, serotonin kick in or whatever goes into your brain right before you go out. Yep. Kick that shit in as quick as you can. The water just terrifies me, man. I remember, and this is probably the reason why, but we went to the city pool. It's like an outdoor pool thing in Flint. Go mind you. And,
that's Kid Rock territory, isn't it? Flint, Michigan.
A little bit, yeah. He wasn't too far off. But I decided to jump off the diving board because everybody else was jumping off the diving board. So I was like, let's fucking go. I was probably 7 at the most. I don't remember. I jumped off, and I remember just staring up, looking at the light, seeing people, and I remember thinking, like, somebody's going to come get me. I mean, like, this is what happens, right? I jump in, somebody gets me, and, like, that's it. I didn't think it through as a little dumbass kid. And then finally somebody did come in and get me, but I remember I was like, this. I actually...
So you jumped off and couldn't swim?
Yeah, I couldn't swim. I hadn't even been in the pool yet that day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to jump off this diving board.
Yeah.
So I think it was everybody else making it a big deal that scared me. Because I remember vividly looking up, and I remember seeing blue swim trunks. That was the one thing I saw. Somebody standing there, and I could see him doing like...
So somebody jumped in. Was it a lifeguard? Or just...
Yeah, the lifeguard came in and got me, but I remember seeing this guy in blue shorts and very pasty white skin, apparently, because I could see him pointing like at me. And I was like, oh, he's telling him it's my turn. Like, somebody comes and gets me now. So, yeah, they pull me up, and just as they're about to pull me out of the water, I couldn't hold my breath anymore. I just sucked in a bunch of pool water, and that made it bad. Crazy. And everybody's like, get back, like trying to get everybody back. So, I wasn't allowed to go to the pool anymore.
Yeah, and, I can see that.
Yeah, it kind of scared me.
So it got back to the parents.
Oh, for sure. My mom lit into the lady that was watching me because she should have known, but somebody should have been watching me. Somebody should have known better, da-da-da-da-da. This lady's watching us taking the kids to the pool thinking, like, this is what you do when you babysit. And
you go swimming, you jump off the high dive.
I told her I knew how to swim. I told her that. So she trusted me. I mean, why would a kid tell you he knows how to swim if he doesn't know how to swim?
Yeah, so she was just chilling, and next thing you know, somebody's jumping in after you.
And I wasn't down there. I mean, in hindsight, I wasn't down there that long, but...
Well, when you're drowning, 5, 6, 10 seconds is a long time. So
like that. But
if you know what you're doing and you're just holding your breath, it's one thing. But when you're drowning, it's 10 seconds is forever.
And this was late 80s, early 90s, so it was old school pool as well. Like where there's no, it just drops. Like there wasn't that gradual, so kids could walk up.
Yeah, the slope. It was just
it was
6 feet to 12 feet.
Yes. So I'm sitting down there. Both feet firmly planted on the bottoms, going, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like on, what was that movie? With Will Ferrell. Remember when they had the fraternity?
Oh, yes.
And he gets...
Old school?
Old school, yeah. He gets tranquilized and falls in the pool. It was kind of like that. You just look it up. Yeah.
I love that.
Same shit. But all right, sir. We are... we're 20 minutes in already.
That's crazy.
I told you.
You told me it was going to go quick.
Yeah. So I'm trying to give you the ins and outs of this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to expand his mind because he does the YouTube thing. So I definitely think he's got the potential to do a podcast for sure. So, sir, you've got a life of service. You've done that military, police work, even civilian side. But we'll get into that. But before we get into that, I like to do what's kind of like my little humanizing section. And that is understanding where you came from and what led you to that life. Like, where did you grow up? Did you do any college, or did you jump right in? Was there any influential people in your family, stuff like that? So, let's go down that.
So I was born in Pennsylvania. I don't really claim that as my home. I only lived there for a short period of time, a small little town called Meadville, Pennsylvania. not too far from Pittsburgh. But I grew up predominantly in Phoenix, Arizona. So that was before I came in the military. Home for me. That's what I claimed, Phoenix. Had a little bit of an estranged relationship early on with parents, divorced and married multiple times. And, but I do remember from a young age always being thrilled, infatuated with old Westerns with the cavalry guys in their uniforms. There was just something about the appeal of a uniform and the structure and discipline of that I kid you not, at the age of 7, 8, 9, I have vivid memories of my toys or watching shows to where that was just a thing.
Custer's Last Stand shit.
Anything. It was just, and it wasn't so much your normal Western. It was, where there was men in uniform, involved in the plot. That always appealed to me. My biological father was a Phoenix police officer for a number of years, and I have some recollection of that. My stepdad was a Vietnam veteran, and he did some time over there, yes. So he was very influential in my life from an early age, and that's who I came to call my father to this day. The whole appeal of a uniform and of that way of life just has been something that, as long as I can remember, has appealed to me. So I think that's kind of what spurred me on after high school. I had no desire whatsoever to go into college. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to join the armed forces, and I wanted to serve, and I didn't know where it would take me, but I just knew I wanted that.
Okay. During that time, your stepdad that was Vietnam, what branch was he in?
So he was in the Army, and of all things, he was a finance guy. He was a finance guy. But people don't understand. Obviously, everybody, quote unquote, deploys, or back then they didn't call it a deployment. You went to Vietnam. Yeah. And guess what? People needed to get paid down there. So, he went and did his tour. And he was also a boxer. He was a very athletic guy. So he didn't fit the bill of your normal finance nerd. Yeah, right. So, he was just, and I just remember, he never talked about it. He was a kind of a typical, Vietnam vet of the day. Never really talked about it. I knew it. I saw some of his stuff in his closet, and it wasn't until much later in life that well into my military career that we would sit down over whiskey or beer and talk about stuff, guy stuff, because he knows that I eventually, kind of followed those footsteps in going some places that were not so nice. And it gave us some common ground. So yeah.
Okay, that's neat. So, and the thing that people don't understand a lot of times is, this is kind of the difference between the Army and the Marines versus most other all the other branches, let's face it. In the Army or the Marine Corps, if you are a dental hygienist for the Marine Corps, whatever it is, and they need a rifleman, well, you're a fucking rifleman. There's that's what you are at the Corps. Now, in the Air Force and the Navy, for the most part, you're a specialist. So if you are a dental hygienist, that's your job. You go deploy, you're still a dental hygienist. You don't get pulled from that too often. So back then, even though he was a financier, I bet he still had some shit that they had to deal with.
Of course, yeah. And you're exactly spot on. In the Marine Corps, the Army, that's a very common thing. That, hey, you're a rifleman first. You understand you are a U.S. Marine, or you are a soldier. That's the soldier. Yeah, Marine. You carry a rifle first, and by the way, you might do some finance stuff, or you might do some cooking, or you might do some diesel mechanics, but. If push comes to shove, here's a rifle, fall in line, and that's what you do.
Yeah, and that's why we get the reputation as a chair force. I get it. It's somewhat deserved. Just because my boot camp was on a golf course, that doesn't give you the right to make fun of my career path, right? You know what? I signed the dotted line just like everybody else. Thank you for the free college stuff.
Yeah, hey, I took advantage of it.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You an educated man?
I have a master's degree in education, sir. All paid for by the United States Air Force.
Dang, sure. Not just a pretty face, huh?
No, not just a pretty face. A smart guy, too.
Smart learning doctor. Eventually, I'm going to go for my doctorate. That's kind of what this project has been. That's the long-term goal from this. The whole point was to show police could be using social media in a different way, a better way. And I chose the education path because nobody's doing that. There's the entertainment path. There's the TikTok dancing to show the community that we're people too. There's the The funny guys like Officer Daniels and humanizing the badge. It's also another thing. There's officers that are doing like a PTSD thing or dealing with trauma. The Muster Room podcast. Shout out to those guys out in New York. A bunch of NYPD cops.
Yeah, I love it.
So doing that. You've got your YouTube channel. I don't know if you intended it to be for the PTSD and all that stuff, but
not really. But it plays a role, and it's a forum. And I'm a firm believer in that you capitalize on worthwhile opportunities when you can. Your podcast is a prime example of that. You know, it's entertainment at its core, but it's much more than that. It's an educational platform. It's a way to spread the news about important stuff, and I kind of want to do that eventually with my YouTube channel. It's very new. I've only had it up for a couple of months, but you know, I definitely have some visions in my head of getting into. You know, I want my viewers to understand. Hey, if you're suffering from some stuff, maybe you don't understand that sometimes, you know, getting up and having your morning coffee 50 miles away from the nearest person is beneficial to what you're dealing with. Yeah. You know, it's not just cool to be out there in camp. Yeah. It's beneficial to your PTSD or your anxiety or issues. You're not surrounded by stress and drama out there. So get out there.
We'll get into that. Mm-hmm. I'm dancing around because there's so many things going on through my head. But you decide to join the military, and what was the causation to the Air Force? What drew you there?
I'll be very honest with you. Like a lot of kids, you know, I was in high school, and the Marine Corps came to my school, and I took the ASVAB test for the Marine Corps. And it's crazy, even at a young age, I was a little skinny beanpole man, but my buddies were like, "Oh, dude, you're enough, and we like to go out in the deserts in Arizona and eat snakes, and you have short hair, and everyone else in the
snake is good though."
Yeah, everyone else in the late 70s and the 80s, and I'm dating myself, has this, you know, long hair, and you have the kind of shorter hair. So long story short, I tested, I took my physical, I did everything, I processed for the Marine Corps, and I wanted to be an MP. I was adamant about wanting to be an MP. I wanted to kind of follow in my dad's footsteps.
Military police?
Military police, yes, I'm sorry. And the Marine Corps guy, he was somewhat cool in terms of, he said, "Hey, look, I can't get you into the MP curriculum right now. I can make you an infantryman, a rifleman."
Of course.
And then, after 32 months, you can cross-train, and it's likely that you can. And I was like, okay. And I almost bought it. And I said, you know what? Okay, just, you know, let's hold here. And I walked a couple doors down to the Air Force recruiter. And I walked in his office, and he was a super fit guy in his uniform, looking sharp, not what I envisioned an Air Force guy to be. And he was a security policeman at the time, right? Okay. The career field was called security police instead of security forces. And I explained my situation to him. I was candid. I said, "Look, I've done this and this for the Marines." He said, "Hey, have you raised your hand? Because if you have, I can't talk to you." And I was like, "Nope, I haven't done that. I just want to explore my options." He says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I would like to be a military policeman." And he said, "Sir, we call that security police. Let me show you a movie." And he put in a big laser disc.
Oh, shit.
And I sat there, and I watched this guy that was a military or a security forces member. And in one scene, he was running through the woods with cami paint and a machine gun. And the next phase, he was sitting in a car writing tickets. And I was like, "I'm sold. That's exactly what I want." Yeah. And he said, "Hey, you're going to have to wait about 11 months, you know, but you're still in high school. So if that's what you want to do, just
timing will be perfect."
Timing will be perfect. And that's all she wrote.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you see this stuff. You see the pitch because we know the nightmares we've heard about recruiters. So you see this stuff. Now, how accurate was the video compared to what you did?
The only thing that was different is that the video that I watched did not differentiate that there was two separate specialties in the career field. So you had security forces, and that was an MOS or an AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, the Air Force called it. But then there was shreds off of each. So there was a law enforcement specialist, and there was a security specialist. So law enforcement specialist geared towards law enforcement, installation, entry control, working the gates, you know, running the patrol cars, responding to, incidents on base. And then the security specialists were geared towards resource protection. So protecting the flight line, working the nuclear missile field. A big component of their job was air-based ground defense, i.e., hey, you were deploying downrange at the time, Central and South America, to secure airfields. And that's the field that I ended up going into. I didn't realize till I was in basic training that, oh, wow, there's two fields.
Okay.
And in hindsight, for me personally, it couldn't have worked any better. I was that guy that wanted to cami paint and the machine gun and to be in Panama for 4 years, as opposed to the nerd in my eyes sitting, at Beale Air Force Base writing a ticket for going 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. So that was kind of how it all worked out, and just everything for a reason, right? We talked about that today.
For sure. In the career field now, for those wondering, is not split. Security forces is all encompassing. Mm-hmm. So you can be on the base patrolman dealing with law enforcement, or you can be watching airplanes, guarding those, or you can be an entry controller, or there's just so many different canine officers. It's all encompassing. It really is a fun career field if that is your bag. Mm-hmm. Part of my problem with the military, especially when we're talking about law enforcement and having the authority to arrest people and take freedoms, and rank doesn't matter.
No.
You've got kids, I say kids, younger people, 18-year-olds. I mean, let's face it, 18-year-olds arming up in a position because that was the best they qualified for, not because that's what they signed up for. In no other place in the nation can you get arrest authority and be the bottom of the barrel that didn't want to be in that position. You have to intentionally go for that. That drives me up the fucking wall.
Yeah, me as well. And that's part of our problem in the career field. I believe personally to this day, the career field as a whole is still very admirable. Air Force Security Forces is a very professional career field, and for the most part, our guys and gals that do that job are all, across the board, I would say collectively squared away. But you have those people that, for lack of a better term, they have no business being police officers.
Right.
They didn't ask to do it. They're really not, meant to do that. But because of a test score and because of what the Air Force needed at the time, here you go. Here's a badge, here's a gun, here's body armor. And when you give somebody those three things and tell them to go out and do a job, you have to really want to do that. You have to really have a calling to do that. And if you don't, potential issues for sure.
Yeah, it's huge. And let's face it, I want this to be an honest conversation, and I know you and I will have an honest conversation, and you no longer have to worry about any sort of repercussions for that, being a retired guy. But part of the issues that I see is, one, having somebody in a career field that doesn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. And we see that a lot.
For sure.
You ask them, why are you here? What are you looking to do? And a lot of times, let's just where that went general assignment. General assignment, for anybody wondering, they basically say, sign me up for anything. I just want to be in the Air Force.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, you're holding kind of the most authority that you can have on the base.
Yes.
That's serious to me.
Very serious, yeah.
And now you've got these people out there making some tough calls. I want the ones that, and this is where I go back to, I'm all about splitting it back up. Mm-hmm. If you signed up just to be in the military and to be in the Air Force, go put the cami paint on. Go do eat crayons. Do whatever the hell they weren't going to do.
Yeah.
But if you want to be in law enforcement, you need to fucking earn it.
Yeah.
You've got to pass the background test. You've got to show that this is the career path you're looking for. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you're there 2 years, 4 years, 20 years, most of these guys get out.
Yep.
And they go and they continue that career path. So if it's going to be a goal, I want them to have the best head start they can have when they transition. Because that's what we should want as the Air Force, as the military in general. Yes, thank you for serving your country. As part of serving your country, we're going to try to give you the best foot forward when you separate.
Yeah. And well, I lived the transition, because when I came in, and I have no issues dating myself. I came in January of 1984, and in the career field was...
I was one.
You were one.
Yeah, you old fuck.
Oh, take my camera. No, but so I turned 19 in basic training, but we were very specialized, and a security specialist focused on just that: air-based ground defense and resource protection. And we were really good at it. We didn't know shit about writing tickets or responding to a domestic disturbance or a DUI or a field sobriety test or any of that stuff. And we didn't really give a shit about it. I didn't.
Yeah.
My law enforcement counterparts, we loved them. We were one career field. There was, of course, some general animosity and competition between the two. We thought we were better. They thought they were better. But they didn't want to know the nomenclature and breakdown of an M60 machine gun and the cyclic rate of fire. And they didn't want to go to Honduras for 90 days and ride in a Jeep. They wanted to put on their blue uniform, and they wanted to grab their sidearm and write tickets and go to domestic calls.
That's right. They wore their dress blues.
And then a lot of people don't understand, too, that you had a combat arms career field. So CADM, Combat Arms Training and Maintenance, was totally separate. It was a separate specialty. But in the mid-'90s...
what did that job entail?
Basically, you were a range official. So you basically qualified base populace and security forces on their annual qualifications on every single... You were a weapons specialist, bottom line. Gotcha. You knew how to qualify people, you taught people how to shoot, and then you also knew the maintenance and breakdown of every single weapon in the Air Force inventory. Yeah. To include mortars and machine guns and all of that stuff. Yeah. So, and that was a separate career field. We called them the red hats because they all had a red hat that said CADM, Combat Arms Training and Maintenance. And they were separate. Those guys were good at what they do, and they did not want any part of the security forces career field.
Always assholes, by the way.
Yes.
Always assholes.
They didn't even like training us, and sometimes we butted heads with the CADMs guys. So, but in the mid-'90s, when they merged the career field, people forget that they brought those combat arms guys in. So now you had combat arms, law enforcement, and security specialists all merging into one field, all going through a technical training course that quite honestly taught you a lot about a little, but you were no longer a specialist. That's why back in the day it was called security specialist, law enforcement. You were a specialist. Yeah. And it drove major issues. I was out of the career field at the time when they merged. I was a recruiter for 4 years.
Oh, you got to recruit?
I was a recruiter.
How fun was that?
Amazing.
Everybody I know that does recruiting said they loved it.
I loved it. I spent 4 years in Houston, Texas, and I absolutely loved it. I missed my security forces thing. I did my 4 years and wanted to come back in, but so the merger took place when I was out of the career field. So not only did I come back in after being removed from my specialty for 4 years, but I came back in and was told, hey, now you're a police officer. You're not a security specialist. You're not carrying a machine gun anymore and worrying about, resource protection. You're going to Seymour Johnson, and here's 18 guys, and here's a 9mm, and your first day you're responding to domestic disturbance call. And I had no clue what to do. I did not know.
Sit down and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was kind of my mentality, right? And my guys were like, Sarge,
that's not how we do that.
Yeah, we don't do that. Why'd you go right up to the front door? You stand off to the side, and you listen first, and I'm like, oh shit!
You're just kicking the door open.
I had that security.
I'm here now.
Yeah. So, and then you had combat arms guys that were traditionally just weapons instructors, and the next thing you know, they're
who doesn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, they don't talk to anybody. Yeah. And now they're leading a group of men that are police officers, and it was just a mess. So it took us a while to evolve from that. And my personal belief is we really never have. I still think as a general rule, as a career field, we know a lot about a lot, or a little about a lot, but we're not zoned into one specific area, and that causes some issues. Yeah,
that's something that I saw. So Mr. D and I, this is kind of how we met. I had done my active duty time, 2006 to 2010, up in Maelstrom, Montana, security forces. I kind of touched on a little bit of everything. Just the way my personality is, I jived with a lot of people, networked a lot, brown-nosed, whatever you want to call it. But
we'll go with networked.
Yeah,
that sounds better.
I networked, and I just made sure I got my hands in a little bit of everything. I did the new security out in the prairies, and then I jumped over to the WSA because I wanted, there's so much to offer in the career field. I wanted to get as much as I could because I had no intentions of doing more than my 4 years. I knew that about myself. I wanted to do the 4 years, get my bachelor's degree, then get out and go be a cop in the civilian world. So I got to touch on nuke security out in the prairies, did the WSA, jumped over to the law enforcement side for the base, and then jumped into corrections.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Into corrections, I wanted to try K-9, because K-9, that's where they hung out. That's where they like to hide. Yeah. So, I learned a lot, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll extend for 2 years. And it didn't work. And we're going to get into the leadership issues that the military is having that could improve. That's the whole point. I'm not here to bash. I'm here to improve. So let's educate and share perspective. And that's what we're going to do, especially from somebody that's done leadership quite as long as you.
I want to kind of caveat on that point, too, because I don't want anybody out there watching to think that I'm bashing the security forces career field. I spent 23 years in that career field, and I love that.
Yeah.
That will forever be in my blood. So a good thing about the merger was just that, is you had some people that were stuck in one lane, and that's all they were doing was writing tickets or running radar or whatever. But now, exactly like you said, now you're able to, hey, for 3 years I was here, as a patrol officer on this base. And the next thing you know, I'm thrust into the missile field. And I'm out here in the field for 5-6 days at a time on camper teams.
Yeah.
And I'm out in the middle of Montana or North Dakota on a missile site. Like, there's nukes below me.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for this. And then guess what? After 3 years, I'll go back to another base, and I might do flight line security. I'll go to Iraq, and I'll deploy, or I might be a K-9 officer. So it did afford our airmen the opportunity to do different things.
Yeah, broaden the horizons.
Yes,
exactly.
So
I jump out. I do my time. I jump out, and then I missed it. And I decide, you know what? I could do the reserves. So let me try the reserves. So I go to a recruiter. Great recruiter, by the way. I know there's a lot of nightmare recruiters out there. But I tell them what I do, I said, hey, I'm a police officer. This is what I'm doing. But I miss it. I want to get back in if it's possible. If not, I get it. Because I've been out 6 years. At least 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was out for a while. And he's like, have you ever heard of the IMAs? I'm like, what the fuck's an IMA? He's like, you wouldn't be a traditional reservist, a part of a reserve unit. You'd be a part of an active duty unit. I'm like, the guys that do it 24/7? And he's like, yeah. I was like, fuck yeah, that would be way more fun because those guys are doing it.
Right.
And he's like, it's very self-reliant, but it's the individual mobilization augmentees. And he's like, if you want to get in, I can get you in. I was like, he's like, you qualify. I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. So signs me up, gets me in, asks me what base I'm looking to go to. I wanted to go back to my roots. I was like, let's go back to Lackland.
Yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah, that's where it started. I was like, I like Lackland. We'll go back there. So I get Lackland, and I'm fully aware that I'm clueless because I've been out of the career field for so long. I don't remember any of the acronyms. I'm a goldfish. My memory is terrible. If I don't use it for the next couple months, it's gone.
Yeah.
My body does not hold on to shit it don't need. Yeah, I brain dump quick. So I show up, and they're trying to walk me through some stuff. And mind you, these are all active duty guys that just don't have the patience for dumbassery. And I lay it down. I'm like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I do. At the time, I was an academy instructor at one of the 15 largest departments in the nation. We'll say that. Keep it generic. And they're like, oh, no shit. I'm like, yeah, I teach cops for a living. Like, that's what I do right now. And they're like, oh, we got to introduce you to such and such. I'm like, all right, cool. So they introduced me to you. They introduced me to Resendez. As I'm going through training, I'm meeting all of Mr. D's troops.
Yep,
and those are the ones I'm talking to. I'm talking to him, Eric Hernandez, and I'm talking to Eric, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I do. And I wasn't trying to get myself a job. I didn't know that was even an option.
Right.
I'm along for the ride. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I'm there 24 days.
Put me to work.
Yeah, put me to work. I'll do whatever you got. And so I'm just giving them my background, and they're like, we got to get you. We got to get you over here. I was like, okay, cool. Whatever you need. I meet Mr. Dempsey, and at the time, were you Air Force or were you civilian side?
So I was a civilian DAF, or Department of the Air Force officer. I was a police captain. I was in charge of the training staff, in charge of the training section.
Okay, because everybody called you chief.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and technically, my duty title was the chief of training, but my police rank was a captain. So, but yeah, chief. Hey, chief. I hated that, by the way. So, but hey, it was what it was. But so that's kind of how we came into.
Yeah. So for those wondering what DAF is DAF is the Air Force hired civilian police as well to keep continuity on a base because troops are constantly in active duty. Every 4 years they're transitioning. Every 2 years they're transitioning. They're moving from place to place. You need people to stay and understand the job and, guard the gates, handle the calls, do all that stuff. So DAF was a fix for that, I think. Yes. Mm-hmm. And now you've got usually prior security forces, prior Air Force guys transitioning over to the civilian side, which is a federal job.
Yep.
So their time, all their retirement, everything transfers over. It's really a good deal for them. And now they're doing the same exact job that security forces does. Now
very little learning curve. It's just a good program.
And now you got the continuity there, and then they're working hand in hand with security forces. So it's actually a smart move. Wasn't for me because I think it was brand new when I first was getting out. Yeah. It was a new thing in 2010, and I was like, no, I don't. I just kind of want to be a city cop. That's really what I wanted. Yeah. Or a 3-letter agency. I wasn't sure which one. I did try for the FBI. It didn't work out.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, they didn't hire me. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, and it's very
I
would say stringent standards, but of course stringent standards. But it's I have some close friends that are with that same 3-letter agency, and I look at them sometime, and I'm like, you work for the FBI?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd that happen? But no, it's
I when I did that interview, I was so lost. Like I bombed it. They were asking foreign policies and foreign leaders.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I basically had to stop them because you know how I'm very. I don't want to say that I'm very honest. I'm just very like I'm going to talk to you like I've known you my whole life, even though that's not how I should be talking to these people right now. And I'm like, hey, this is I tell them outright in the interview, hey, this is going really bad, and I realized that. I was like,
I'll save you some trouble.
Exactly.
This is going downhill real quick.
If you guys have more foreign policy and foreign leaders questions, I don't know. I was like, but if you give me a mission, just like in the Air Force, if you look at my resume, I will nail that mission. I was like, but all of this stuff, I had no clue the FBI was into that.
Yeah.
I was like, to be fully honest, the FBI is, you guys are the cream of the crop. Why would I not apply for you? I'm getting ready to separate. That's why I'm applying. I was like, but your specific position and all that stuff, I don't know nothing about it. And they all started laughing, and they were like, thank you very much. You helped handle it because this was going to be awkward.
We're done here.
They're like, we have a lot more questions like this, and we're supposed to go through them all. And I was like, we don't have to waste that. I was like, this is what I can do. This is what I'm capable of. Here's my education. If you can train me to do the rest, awesome. If not, it's a learning experience. Yeah. We left, they laughed, I never got a call. So that's how that went. But yeah, I ended up meeting you, and that's how our relationship started. And hopefully I proved myself to you.
Oh, you did. Yeah, I used to look forward to every time I would hear, I used to have the IMA schedule because, of course, every time they came in, regardless of how long you had been into the program, you had to come through some training because typically it had been at least 6 months, sometimes a year before. So you had to, if nothing else, get caught up on your non-lethal weapons and some other core cop training. So every time I heard that, Levine, at first it was Levine, and then after a couple of years it was just Eric's coming in. Oh yeah, and it was a given. It was nobody fucked with us. They knew that in process guy to the order room and fucking send him right to the training bay.
Yeah.
Stay the fuck out. He's mine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And whatever we were doing, you just jumped right into.
24 days, baby.
24 days.
Yeah. It was 24 days.
And the good thing about your experience level was, just the fact that it didn't matter what we were doing. If we had a field training exercise going on, or if we were doing tactics or combatives or, controlled force or non-lethal weapons, we tossed it right in.
Yeah. Had it ready to go.
Yeah.
It was definitely beneficial as being an instructor and already teaching that stuff on the daily. And then my favorite thing is you got to do a PT test every time you show up.
Yes.
So I go do a PT test as, an upper aged person for the area, and come in and they're like, Levine got a 99. Levine got a 100. He got every time. They're like,
when the average senior airman or E4 was in the 70s or maybe the 80s on a good day, and
funny story. The last time I went down, they had a new kid there. It's always these new guys when I show up. New kid there, and I'm like, hey, I need somebody to go do my PT test for me. And I'm not asking this kid to pencil whip, but I'm just like, can we handle this? I'll go do it. Let's go do it. Whatever you want. I'm leaving it in his court. And pencil whip, for anybody that doesn't understand, I'm just basically asking this kid, like, dude, I'm fully capable of doing this. Whatever number you write down, I'm happy with.
Yeah.
I don't care. It doesn't have to be 100. But if you want me to go do it, we can go do it. Well, he's playing it by the numbers and doing the book. And I was like, all right, cool, we'll go do it. And we get done. And I think I got a 98 or a 99. And he's like, dude, I thought for sure that you were going to barely squeaked by.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't score that high. He was impressed. So
that's good.
Yeah. And it just gets easier the older you get, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just.
But yeah, it's one of those things like if your PT test, if you're concerned about your troops' PT test as a leader, you're the one that's behind the ball.
Well, let's be honest too. I personally believe in general the military standards, but the Air Force PT test, their annual PT test, physical training test, is not that rough. I've seen a lot of guys that I know. I'm like, oh, okay, this is June. You're out here for your annual PT test. I'm at the track all the time. I'm at the gym all the time. I haven't seen you here. The last time you PT'd was a year, wasn't it, Sarge? Oh, yeah. And they'd come out and score an 80, an 85.
Yeah.
You know, you run 1.5 miles. You can do that in your sleep.
Yeah.
You drop down and you do some push-ups, you do some sit-ups, and you're done for another year.
We're talking military lifestyle, guys.
Yes.
There's a lot of police officers looking like, yeah, I could run 1 mile. No, the fuck you can't. No, you can't. Don't even try. I know some of you officers out there saying you can run 1.5 miles. You're not running 1.5 miles.
We got some issues here.
What's going on? We've had a technical difficulty. All right, so we will fix this real quick. Give me 1 second. We're at 51:26.
I broke shit.
I got it. Don't worry.
Typical defender. I
will save you, sir. All right. No, you're good. Watch this. So I will loosen this one up. So you can set that down on the table gently, sir. And then this basically just clamps down on the table is all it is. So I will loosen that.
What kind of operation you running here?
Sorry. I know, right? There we go. Let's stick that.
All right.
Back in the hole, sir. How much have you had to drink tonight, sir?
I really haven't had that.
Do it. There you go. Now just
thread that bad boy
tight
in.
There you go. Now that Sarge broke my shit.
All right.
Okay. So anybody wondering, I use Gator Frameworks boom arms. They are amazing.
Yeah, they sound great.
But they are susceptible to operator error. So.
Oh, I like how you.
Yeah, a little jab. So, what the fuck were we talking about?
We were talking about PT tests.
PT tests, yes, standards.
Civilians don't get too alarmed because,
Yes. It's the military lifestyle is like you said, we have this, we know, most people can easily go run 1.5 miles, but it's not the same in civilian world when it comes to police work.
Yeah.
You got guys that struggle doing a flight of steps.
I know the Army recently changed, and I don't have all the details, but I know from being downrange recently with some Army guys that, and the Air Force was supposed to start going to this, where your PT test was going to be career field specific. So in other words, if you were a finance officer, okay, you need to do 1.5 miles and do push-ups.
Okay.
But if you're a TAC-P or a security forces guy, guess what? No, you need to do 2 miles, and you need to be able to do 9 pull-ups, and you need to be able to do a dummy drag, and whatever they were going, deadlifts and that kind of stuff. I don't know if we're there yet, but I know that there was definitely talk of.
Well, I guess I'll find out around the March time period. That's usually when I do my time.
And I honestly am in full agreement with that. A lot of people talk about, you have one standard and males and people. I believe that, hey, if you are sitting in a hospital, there should be a standard, of course. But if you are a police officer, or if you are a tactical air control party member, you better be doing more than 1.5 miles. You better be doing more than the finance guy that sits there every day from 7 to 4 and pushes papers. You should be more physically capable, more agile, stronger than the average person.
You're already holding standards to them that nobody else has.
Yes.
Me as a security forces guy, I have to maintain a pistol qual. I have to maintain a M4 qual. I need to maintain, if I have it issued to me, a 249, whatever it is. That's nobody else has to do that.
No.
So it's okay to transition the standards according to the job. I think you're right.
I agree.
I think that's how it should be. But that gets us into one of our main topics here, leadership, and the way that it operates in the military. I know people outside of the military, they look and they just see a well-oiled machine, and that's awesome. I'm glad that they see it that way. But that's not how it is. No. It's not true. It's not true at all.
Not at all.
There's issues. Now, you are a person that had been in leadership. You know, you were a military member 23 years?
23 and a half years, yes.
23 and a half years, and then you continued working with military. And your experience has been a lot from a leadership position. So in that, what is the military? Let's do our shit sandwich first. Then let's start talking about how leadership is trained to begin with. How do they start getting somebody down the path of being a leader?
Honestly, it starts with basic training, because basic training is built around fundamental leadership type philosophy. You have a hierarchy, you have a rank structure, if you will. So you learn about that and you see it in action, for 6, 8, 10, whatever it is now, weeks. There are leadership positions, obviously, in basic training, whether it's a squad leader, an element leader, or a chow runner, or they gear you early on that, hey, this is your position, and you're in charge of these people, you're in charge of these bunks, you're in charge of these shoes, making sure they're all lined up properly, or whatever. But
you're the shoe aligner.
Yeah, you're the shoe aligner. So it sounds trivial, but it establishes a baseline in that mindset of, oh, okay, I'm in charge. I have to get this done. And if I fail, my flight fails. If the shoes aren't lined up properly, which sounds silly, right? But it's bigger than that. The flight doesn't get a base pass. So I understand the importance of not letting my team down, not letting my people down. And then honestly, it starts, when you get to your first duty assignment. You hope that you have a supervisor that has learned under other effective supervisors or leaders. I like the term leader. I don't like the term supervisor. I just leader. In the military, you have leaders. And, that's where your grooming starts, because you know the deal. We typically don't go to our formal professional military education, our leadership courses, till 3, 4, 15 even years in the military before you're going to your formal schools.
Yeah.
So your premise and your basis of what a leader is supposed to do is the vast majority of it is on the job training and watching others in action, of course.
Yeah. And the translation into the civilian world, it's the same way. Like, only those that are trained in leadership are the ones that are promoting up.
Yes.
And at the officer rank, the corporal rank, or detective, just depends on your agency. They vary from place to place. Your sergeant. Your sergeant is about the level where they finally start getting some sort of leadership training. And that is different from the military, because you know how the rank structure and how quickly getting to sergeant is in the military. It's a lot faster.
Of course. But
in the police world, you're in the streets 5, 8 years, and then you decide, I've had a lot of fun on the street. Now I'm gonna start promoting up. This is a generalization. People can do this faster. It just doesn't.
It is a general.
It's not typical. Most people do 4 to 6 years, let's say, in the streets as a police officer, and then they start to rank up, and they go to a corporal or a detective, and they start learning their investigation skills. They're still honing the job. But then all of a sudden you become a sergeant, and now you're a sergeant, and you're starting to get some sort of leadership skills quality. That's too late. Like, you should have started honing some of that stuff in your earlier ranks. Now we jump back over to the military side, where leadership is always a part of everything we do.
Exactly.
And the one thing at least my experience in the Air Force is, you're always attaching yourself and looking for good leadership at every level.
Yes.
You can always tell, being a staff sergeant, whatever it is, looking at Airman Basic. And I'm looking at the guys, I'm training 12, 15 of these Airman Basics or a little bit higher. But there's that one. He's got his shit squared away. He's the one telling everybody the times, hey guys, we got to make sure we show up. You're listening.
He has a shit in one sock, as we say.
Yes. And you're hearing it. You're like, all right, this is my guy. Hey, Snuffy, come here. This is what I need. Make sure you guys are here this time, that time, whatever it is. And they're getting that that draw to being a leader. Now you're facilitating, you're honing leadership at the earliest fucking level. And I think the Air Force, at least on the security forces side, they do a damn good job.
I agree.
At creating 100%. A leader and facilitating. Where I think we start to slip is once somebody becomes a leader, we kind of leave them alone. Like, you never see a master sergeant look at a staff sergeant and is like looking at them the same way I would look at an airman basic. That's, all right, that guy's got, like, right. You don't see it as often. It's not that it's non-existent.
Or just assuming, okay, you're a staff sergeant now. You were a senior airman 6 months ago, so you know how to lead. You may know how to lead, but a staff sergeant should lead differently than a senior airman should, from terms of mindset and scope of responsibility and that kind of stuff. So you have a constant obligation as that next higher level or even 2 levels above to reach down to those below you and say, hey, you have performed at this level of leadership, and now here's what I'm looking for. Here's what you need to do.
And then we've got like the cream of the crop leaders. We know these guys. We see them at the highest levels, chief master sergeant, stuff like that. We talked about one earlier, Bruton, this guy that we worked for. Colonel Whitehead, another just outstanding, phenomenal fucking leader. Major, I don't know what he is anymore. Major Collins, he was a major the last time I met him. I heard now he's like way up there. So I think he's like a brigadier general or something. But great leaders. They were, and what made them great leaders is leaning on people for their specific skill set, not because of their rank.
Right.
It's like, I need this job done, not who's my chief sergeant, who's this? It's, I need this type of training done for whatever. Gutierrez, you're a good ground guy, even though you're only a staff sergeant. Like, I need you to get these guys squared away because you are the best suited for it.
Sure.
And that's a good leader, able to look at your guys, know what their strong suits are, and hoist that up.
Capitalize on those and rely on that for sure.
And I think that's one of the things that you did so well is being somebody that worked under you. You were able to, one, you didn't micro. That was huge.
Yeah,
I fucking hate micromanaging. You gave us a task, and that was it.
There's something called, baptismal by fire, right? And I cut my teeth on that as a young airman. I was held to that type of standard, and I adopted that as I grew into a leader, is the fact that, hey, first of all, you're a grown adult. Second of all, you've been doing this business for a little while. So if nothing else, if you don't have a great deal of experience personally in leadership, you've seen it around you, good and bad. So I'm going to establish a standard, establish a baseline. I'm going to give you a task. I'm going to give you a timeline. And I'm not going to micromanage. And you don't have to do it how I do it, how I would do it, how Sergeant Smith over here did it. At the end of the day, get it done.
Yeah.
If the troops are standing in front of me with a notepad and pen and a helmet and a canteen, 0900, you succeeded.
Yeah.
If you did not, you failed.
Yeah.
And if you told the guys, hey, look, guys, I'd really appreciate it if you got here at 09 with your, and they did it, then you succeeded. Or if you said, hey, look here, fuck sticks, grab your shit, you better be here by 0845 or I'm going to freaking throttle you. And they're standing in formation, you got the job done.
Yeah.
So, I was never one to...
I think one of the most important things with leaders is, just like you said, a clearly defined goal. How you get there is up to you.
Exactly.
There goes the micromanagement part. That's out the window. I'm not going to tell you how to get it done. Get it done. However, a great leader goes, if you've got any questions on how to get from A to B, let me know. If there's anything you need to get from A to B that you don't have, I will get it for you. So those are the 2 things I think that make a great leader.
Oh, and here's the thing. I personally believe that you stifle a leader if you micromanage. If you say you have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. There's a point in time to say, hey, look, this is what's got to happen, and it's got to happen this way. These are the steps, A, B, and C, or somebody's going to get hurt. But as a general rule of leadership, you have an end state that you want to achieve, and how you get there, providing you're operating within legal and moral parameters, dude, you don't have to do it like me.
Yeah.
And if I tell you have to do it like me, I'm stifling you. Because that may not be your thing. You may not be really good at being authoritative and barking out orders and cussing and just doing this. You may be more apt to a different approach. And at the end of the day, as long as the mission gets accomplished, that standard gets met, and it's done legally and morally, you've done your job. As a leader grooming that guy below you, and you have to applaud him and say, hey, you did it. Did you do it how I would do it? No, but you did.
Yeah. Not even fucking close, but you got it done.
And that's what's important.
Yeah. And it's important as part of this whole leadership talk that I want to have is like, and it doesn't mean my way is right, but what I have found the most effective leaders to do is exactly what you were talking about, is it basically to step back, say, this is what I need done, and this is the timeline, but my only function is to provide you the tools you need to succeed.
Yes.
So if you tell me you don't need anything, you can get it done, fuck, let's go. Drive on. That's awesome. Yeah. But if you need something, I can't roll my eyes and go, oh, fuck. Like, I can't huff, I can't puff, because I've seen that. I've seen shit leaders that are like, they want to talk the game. They want to sound like a good leader. Oh, whatever you need, man, I can get it for you. Just tell me. No. That is what you are there to do. They are there to make you look like a rock star.
Exactly.
And if you let them do what they're supposed to do, you'll look like a rock star without ever having to do it.
And that's another thing. You bring up such a great point where another aspect or area that leaders fail in is you give a subordinate a task, a mission, an assignment, and a set of parameters, and they achieve that, and then the colonel comes around. And you step in and you take credit.
You look what I did for you, Colonel.
Look what I did, sir. Oh, yeah, my shit squared up. And instead of saying, hey, sir, because the colonel will come in and say, holy shit, your classroom looks amazing. Or your field area looks amazing. You guys are locked on, squared away. Good job, Captain Dempsey. No, sir. Yeah, I didn't do shit, sir. Sergeant Levine over here. Oh, and I'm going to tell you, man, that is another aspect of what a leader does is gives his people credit and recognizes what it is that they've done. Yeah. And make sure that others know it. Hey, this wasn't me. I had the easy job. I just told him to do it. He got it done. These guys got it done. And that goes a long way. Yeah. Because inevitably, for you shitty leaders out there, you're going to take credit. You're going to take credit. You're going to do that shit. It used to drive me insane. And it is going to come back around. I saw it all the time. It's going to come back around. And good leaders see through your bullshit. So, like, the colonel does come in, and he hears you say, yeah, I got this done for you, Colonel, whatever it is. He knows. If he's a good leader, he already knows what's up. He knows you didn't do that. Yeah. You didn't do it. These guys did it. Yeah. And here's the deal. A good way to lose respect and lose, admiration and face with your subordinates is to do something like that. And after a while, your troops, your subordinates are not dumb. They know what type of leader you are. So if you're the guy that, sits back and gives all the orders and doesn't do shit, and then when the colonel comes or the general comes and you're the one that, and peacocks and takes the coin from them and sticks it in your pocket, because a military tradition, right, is you're coined, you're given a commander's coin, and that's a sign of excellence, of a job well done. And you don't take that coin, and maybe not right in front of the colonel or the general, okay, but maybe after they leave, say, hey guys, come up here. This is a team effort. Or, hey, Staff Sergeant Smith, this is your coin. You're the one that made this happen. Guys, I appreciate everything else that it was a team effort, but Sergeant Smith here gets the coin for today. Yeah. And if that Sarge, if that Sarge is like, you know what, like there's some stuff behind the scenes that Mr. D didn't see, and I know, Airman such and such is really the reason this all came together. I mean, that happens. Yeah. It's a good move. Or to even say, I've done this so many times. I've said, hey, Colonel, I know this sounds a little strange, but have you got another coin? Because Levine did great. He set this up, but he was sick Tuesday, and Snuffy over here stepped in, on last minute notice, and we wouldn't have pulled this off without him. And 9 times out of 10, I've seen colonels and general officers that are like, "Fuck yeah!" They got 100 coins. Yeah, they didn't pay for them, and they take out another coin and they recognize somebody else off the team. Yeah, and that just it sets the tone for your guys to want to follow you in the future. I'm looking for my favorite coin. Give me one. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, Colonel Whitehead. Oh, I love it. You know that one? Yeah, I do. Yeah. There it is. This is my favorite coin. So, when I was working for you, and I've got. Now, for those that don't know, a lot of coins, there's rank behind them. So you can get general coins, you can get all these different coins, you can get presidential coins, there's all these different coins. However, this one came from a colonel. He was a colonel at the time. Lieutenant Colonel, yes. Yeah. And this is my absolute favorite coin that I got. Not necessarily because of the way it looks,
who he is.
It is wicked cool, though.
It is wicked cool. But the mission that we did to earn this, and I don't know if you remember, but
I already know where you're going.
Me,
there.
Donnie Blue, Gutierrez, we put on this course for several different police agencies, learning combatives and stuff like that, and just collaborated. I mean, it was one of the best joint task force things that we had done. It was fun, and it was a good time, and it was a culmination of things, a lot of brotherhood stuff, sisterhood stuff. There's females there too.
Basically, if you want to cut to the chase, it was a bunch of civilian jailers, and we don't need to say the agency. It was a training deficiency that was recognized within their agency, and they reached out to the subject matter experts and said, "Hey, we're getting some jailers, some correctional officers that are getting their fucking asses handed to them every time they get into a scuffle with an inmate. Yeah. It's the inmate on top. It's the inmate that knows how to fucking choke somebody and do this kind of stuff. So we need to fix this."
Yeah.
And we did not have the wherewithal to train everybody. So we said, "Hey, send us your cream of the crop, give them to us for a couple of weeks, and we will make them combatives instructors. We'll teach them very basic level 1 stuff." And you guys did that, and it was amazing. I was there every single day, and to see those guys not only get the training to potentially save their lives, right, or you always want the upper hand on the bad guy, man. Right. I need to be better than the bad guy. You guys made those guys better than the bad guy and gave them the ability to go back and teach their people now.
Yeah,
and
it was fun.
To be it was amazing.
Yeah, so we got coin, got
choking
recognized.
people unconscious for 2 or 3 weeks and getting a coin for it. Shit, come on now.
But his coin, we're the Legion, so we have a Legionnaire's shield is basically what he made, and all of his coins were numbered. I got number 65. I was upset that I didn't get number 69.
Oh, yeah.
But so just to show the camera, this is what. There we go. That's what it looks like. On the back, it says, "We are many, but we are one." And it's got what is the name of that sword? I can't remember that Legionnaire's sword, but the old Roman sword. Yeah. It's got that on the back. So
yeah, I got one of those from the Colonel when I retired, and it's at the pinnacle of my coin collection.
It's the coolest coin.
It is super cool. So you were talking about coins, and as you were fishing around, I dug one out of my wallet.
Okay.
And I'm nobody special. I've done the job forever, so I have conservatively I have 600 coins that I've been just given over the years, right? And I keep one in my wallet that is of significant importance to me, and this was given to me by Lieutenant Colonel David Patak, who was a squadron commander. 2003-ish is when he presented this coin to me for, I don't even really remember what it was that I did. And just because of the reverence that I had for that man as a leader and what this coin signified, because he did not give these out like candy, of all my coins, of all my presidential and JTAC and this and that, I keep this one. This is the only one I keep.
The only one you keep on you?
And it's forever there. And he knows it. Him and I stay in touch from time to time. And Colonel Patak, if you're listening, I still have the original Nighthawk Defender coin that you gave me back in 2002, I believe, honestly it was.
Dang.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
It'll never not be in my wallet. So.
Nice.
And then, of course, every time you have the coin challenge, down it goes.
Yeah.
I'm not buying the beer.
The coin challenge is basically, if we're out at a restaurant, wherever it is, the bar, if somebody pulls a coin out and puts it on the table, everybody else has to put a coin out. The person that doesn't have a coin has to pay. However, if everybody has a coin, the person
that initiated the challenge,
has to pay. So it's a risky maneuver.
It is
a risky maneuver. Sometimes what we'll play is whoever's coin's the highest ranking. That's another one that you'll do. But I'm of the opinion, you throw a coin out there and everybody's got a coin with them,
it's worth it. I have typically found, though, that in the 7 or 8 coin challenges that I can personally recommend initiating, I've never had to buy it.
Nice.
So you got that one cheese dick that does not have his coin.
I'm that guy.
You have that's a monster right there. So that would be kind of tough.
Oh shit! I left my wallet out there. Well, now my wallet is like it's just for cards. Like it's
I like
those metal ones. It's very minimal.
Those. Yeah, you're not gonna put a coin in it.
Yeah, you can't put a coin in it. So yeah, I've got nothing to. I could throw one in my pocket and just leave it loose, but I don't know if it's in it. So yeah,
I haven't touched one of those for a while.
That's my beast, man.
Incredible, yeah.
And it's a ginormous coin.
Oh, it's
compared to normal coins.
And it's, traditionally your average military coins, they're round. It's a coin.
Yeah.
And this is considered a coin, but it's in the shape of the Legion shield, and it's got the state of Texas and San Antonio highlighted, and the motto on it, and we were men. It's kick ass. It is an amazing coin. When he brought those into the squadron, there was so many people that wanted one of those, and he was a guy that didn't
just hand them out.
Yeah. So
God, they're so cool.
I have a Colonel Whitehead story that's not PG-13. I don't know how much we edited.
Go ahead. So. No, tell it.
All right, so let me get some.
Oh yeah. Let me.
If he ever watches this podcast,
I doubt it, but
I know he'll laugh because
my ice balls are together here. Oh, your balls are in there, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to.
We have our individual.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I knew they would eventually, do that, so I didn't want to put my hands on.
Dude, I like that.
All right,
whatever we drank last time was spot on the money.
I know, but I want you to try this one. This is a Texas thing. Now, Blue Note is made out of
Is it smooth or?
Oh my God, it's made out of Memphis. A buddy turned me onto this, and
orgasmically smooth or just smooth?
Well, it just depends. You've had enough whiskey; it may not be as organic.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to be. I know you and I are going to be drinking all night, so I'm trying to be conservative on the pours.
Yeah, I know, dude.
So we've already had a couple beers at lunch, and we're drinking whiskey. And
when you said, "Hey, dude," you sent me that text and said, "I saw your Jeep pulling into the hotel. I'm out for a whiskey run." I was like, "Oh God, here we go."
Yeah. So here you are, sir. Salud. Tell me what you think of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Ooh, I gotta admit, I like that better.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I don't blame you.
No,
I don't blame you. Now, the other whiskey that we drink's a rye.
Mm-hmm.
This one's not a rye.
I don't know whiskeys, but just this one tastes a little more tamer to me, a little more smoother. So I don't know if that's actually what's going on.
Yeah, it's that. Well, they're both unfiltered, but that's a traditional whiskey bourbon, where the other one's a rye. So,
okay, right,
I didn't know that. It's funny. I had a guest on here, and I opened up a bottle of.
They got you smart on.
And he said, "Man, that's pretty good for a rye." And I'm like, "It's rye." I never read the bottle.
Damn right it is.
Yeah. So I'm like, I've had rye whiskeys, but I didn't realize that was a rye. And I was like, it's delicious. So,
you ready for the story?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So listen to me here.
As you were.
We had a long-standing tradition in the training staff on my watch, where when our instructors would leave, military and civilian, and we were the same. We had a turnover, a flux of instructors. They were always leaving. And, in the military, or any organization, you lead and you reward your people. You give them a plaque or, a statue.
Not with our unit.
No, not with our unit. And it's always the same stuff. I've got 27 security forces busts sitting on my mantle right now. And they get old after a while. They lose their significance. So when I took over the training staff, I'm like, hey, what can I do a little different? And we came up with this thing. It's basically an ammo can, just an ammunition can. Usually 5.56 ammo was in it. They were $3.99. We went in the back and got them. But we would adorn it with plaques and patches and stuff like that. And it looked really nice. And you set it up on your shelf, and it was different. Nobody had an ammo can that had a patch and your rank and a coin on it. It was different, and that's what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So to the normal person, you just saw the ammo can, and you thought it was pretty cool. But the gig was what was in the ammo can. And what was in the ammo can is dirt, just stuff that we had on each other. Yeah. You learn a lot about a guy working with him, in that kind of conditions. So we would always have our private, like behind closed doors award ceremonies, and we would give the ammo can and dismiss with the formalities and open the can, and there was stuff in there. I will just tell you that there was not one. There was one ammo can that I saw in 13 years that did not have at least one dick in it of some sort. Right. So we very rarely, if ever, gave them outside of the training world. Matter of fact, it took like a unanimous consensus. If you had a really good leader in operations, like the superintendent or the group commander, we would take a vote and say, hey, Colonel, whoever is leaving, and he's not part of our training team, but he oversaw our unit. He was really good. He was super supportive of us. What do you think? Unanimous vote. Do we give him an ammo can? And guys were honest. No, we didn't. And we only gave, in my 13, 14 years, maybe 4 ammo cans out. Well, and it was a unanimous. He was a defender's defender.
Yeah.
We loved him, right? And it was not, I had to ask, to make it official that everyone was like, hell yeah. Well, we had to temper down his can. I'm not going to put a bunch of perverse stuff in it. But the reality is this. He came down to the training bay one day. This was a couple months before he left. And he presented an annual award to John Vance.
Oh, Johnny V.
For his Defender Challenge type stuff.
Yeah.
And this award came in this big blue box. It was massive. And he opened the box, and all the training guys were there. He's like, hey. And he took this big cylindrical type glass award out, and it was very nice. But like, holy shit, this thing looks like a big glass dick. And we're all laughing, and I thought it was pretty funny. We're like, holy shit, it fucking does, you know? And no, he said a glass dildo. That's what he said.
Okay. So
we laughed that off, and you know, John Vance put it on his shelf forever, and he saved the box. So it comes time to and we stuck some generic stuff in there. Little, you know, dirt we had on it and stuff like that. And my guys came to me about a week out and said, hey, boss, John Vance saved the box. What do you think about getting a glass dildo from wherever and sticking it in there and giving it to him? It is going away.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, the group commander, the chief, there's going to be a lot of people there. Fuck it, let's do it. So John Vance gets on Amazon. You can order it. And his wife, he got in hot trouble with his wife because she looked on his statement. And he orders this glass dick. Amazon Prime, be there the next day.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful dick. And it fit in the box perfectly, and we set it there. And the time is ticking. And it's coming 6 days and 5 days. And finally, it's the day of the ceremony. We're like, boss, this is like your job on the line. Do you want to give this fucking dick? Do you want to do it?
Yes.
We're good either way.
You had too much time to think about it.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I think he'll like it. I think he'll get it. We're going to give him the dick. So at his going away luncheon, keep in mind, there's high-ranking officials in this room to include our and the group commander and others. And, you know, people are giving him their little coffee cups and bullshit, little pussy gifts. And I say, sir, you know, it's a tradition. You're only like the third ammo can we've ever given away. We appreciate your support. You're a training guy's, you know, leader. And I gave him the can first. And I was like, sir, there's something you didn't fit in the can. I said, we need to present this to you. So he's sitting in front of the room, and I bring it up, and he recognizes the box. You recognize, and I'm like, don't worry, sir, relax. I said, it's not a glass dildo. And I took the lid off, and I was like, oh,
it is.
I said, it is a glass dildo, sir. And the room went aghast. They just went silent. And I looked over at he was like, he was jealous. He was pissed.
He was like,
and the looked at it, and he was like, are you crazy? And he loved it.
He loved it.
Matter of fact, he said, he's going to love this. And it went over, and to this day, the training guys still talk about that. Like, God, boss, remember when I said, I remember when we had boss. And he loved it. But how about leadership?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so he got it.
Yeah.
He understood that, you know, that was, this is the training guys' way of showing me that they respect me and they admire me, and they gave me this.
Yeah.
Who would do that? Nobody but these guys.
Right.
So it turned out to be smashing.
I have been trying to steal the can ceremony. I've been in the same unit now for 3 years with my property crimes team. And I just been waiting for somebody to leave.
Yeah.
Nobody's left.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, you know, I would be honest with you if you bled that open.
Yeah.
I think it's so
I think
unique.
I think it's amazing. And I think it really, you know, we're a tight-knit team. My team is really close. And I think, you know, when somebody finally does go, like, it's the perfect way to say goodbye, because we laugh, we joke, share a drink, you know, however you choose to do it. Some of our can ceremonies we do, you know, off the clock. Some we do on the clock, so you can't really.
Well, you've lived. You've been to the cancer.
Yes.
You were at a very infamous one.
Yes,
you were.
Yes. We got some good footage of me that we can't share with the public. So
no.
It's just part of the you know, the fellowship that comes with being in the military. And
that day was insane.
Oh my God.
Never again. In a million years, that would never happen again.
No, never. Love you, Espinoza.
Hey, and he's still scarred to it.
Yeah,
to this day, boss. It's been 6 years. I haven't had cake.
That's so funny. God, we could have got it on video too if Bacascio had.
I know, dude. We had it on video, and then between all the buffoonery and the
laughing. Oh shit!
And I told Hirschberg, dude, okay, that's juvenile. You know, that shit you saw on YouTube was staged. It's never going to work. We got to try it. Do it yourself. Go ahead.
I like his tenacity.
And when he went in for round 2, perfect.
We're intentionally being vague. We can't fully disclose what we're talking about just because he's not here and he can't defend himself. So,
well, now I feel bad for telling the story.
No, that's fine. He's retired. Doesn't matter now. You know, can ceremonies aren't just for people retiring. It's for people transitioning out, going to new units and stuff like that. So, yes, that's a great story about, you know, it's a camaraderie thing.
It's a camaraderie. When guys used to leave the training staff, they used to revere it. They used to look forward to their ammo can ceremony because they knew it was going to be raw and crazy, but a brotherhood of, hey, this is just us. Nobody else can come to the can ceremony because it's family. We know what's in that can, and we know what's in that can because we talk, we cry, we laugh, we share with about things that nobody else knows about. So if you pull, you know, whatever it is out of the can, no one's going to get it anyways. But we get it.
Yeah, and that was always for me. It was humbling because I got invited to all of them, and I'm a part of the unit, but I'm not. I'm the weekend warrior. You know,
So you were the weekend warrior, but you were, you were a training guy.
Yeah,
you were our guy. So
working in training and then showing up for my 24 days. You know, I was blessed if I happened to hit a can ceremony in those 24 days, and it was always great. Yeah. Always a good time.
I used to have people ask me, hey, you know, because the word spread in the unit. You know, hey, you guys disappeared on a Friday at noon, and you're locking yourself in this building, and we've heard about these can ceremonies. Can I please come to one? No. Hell no. We're pulling the blinds, and just, what have you heard? It's crazy, and that's all you need to know.
So let's get into the shitty part of what I've seen or some of the stuff that you've seen with leadership. I gave you an example earlier today while we were talking, so I'll bring that part up, and it'll kind of give people an idea of the path I'm trying to take. I'm a detective. I'm a cop. I was a academy instructor. I've been a police officer 17 years. I've been in security forces. I've got a wealth of knowledge, experience, a particular set of skills, if you will, that is very beneficial if you utilize them. And there was a portion of time when I was there and working under you, and some leader decided that numbers that was the important thing. They needed the numbers to match what they were looking for instead of looking at the big picture. And essentially what they were trying to do, and this is me sounding like I'm being a whiny little baby, and I get it, which, you know, I love working the gate. I think it's a blast. I actually got in trouble working the gate because I talk too much, but I think working the gate is fun because I'm only there 24 days.
Yeah.
If you put me on the gate 24 days, who cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Sure. I have light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So I don't care. But somebody wanted to put me on the gate when we had a ton of training. I mean, a ton of training. This is when the training section, we had 3-4 flights coming in every week, you know, just all this stuff going on. And they wanted to pull me. And somebody of lower rank, near my rank, just a sergeant at the time, I think, was like, well, this particular airman's an IMA. This is what he's got going on, and he's a big help to what we're doing. I don't care. I want him on the gate. So I go to you, and I'm like, look, I'll go. It's no big deal. Matter of fact, I did go one day. I think I went the very first day.
You did. You went
one day. Yeah, I went out there, and I was like, hey, just so you know, this is what I can do. And it took you being the highest of the high ranking when it comes to a voice to go to that leader and say, hey, this is what this guy does. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, why is that? That seems to be a common theme in the fucking military.
Yeah, for sure. We talked a little bit at lunch, right? That, you know, and it's indicative of the military where it seems like a certain level of rank will only take advice or guidance or you know, whatever you want to call it from a certain level below them or even, you know, up on their level as well. And it's very difficult sometimes, for whatever reason, for a senior master sergeant to take guidance and advice and suggestions from an E4. because you're so ingrained into your head of, hey, you're a senior, you're an E4. I'm a senior master. Fuck off. You can't tell me shit. When the reality of it is, hey, listen to what they're telling you, because maybe they can tell you something. And that was a clear case where you came into the unit, and the general synopsis was, hey, if you're an IMA and you're coming into the squadron, you're going to go to the gate, and that's what you do. And I believe that even somebody had gone to the leadership and said, hey, this guy's a instructor from a very renowned police academy. He's got a wealth of experience. We have a lot of guys that can go right in the gate. This is not what we need. There's a training push going on right now, and we need him here. And by the way, he's got a tracker. He works training every single time he comes here. Yeah, that's great. He's going to the gate. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then, me in particular, not being really anybody in special, it was a right thing. Going to that same person and saying, hey, sir, here's what you need to understand. I told him basically the same thing. Maybe pains are a little different. And the next thing you know, they're listening and say, oh, that fucking guy at the gate, why didn't you say so? Well, we did, sir.
Yeah.
This person told you the same thing, 2 days ago, but they were a staff sergeant, and you didn't value that input because of their rank. Mm-hmm. But here you have a retired, senior NCO and a captain coming to you, and suddenly you listen. So that's super important, to me, that a leader has to understand that, okay, you're in charge. Yes, you're going to make the ultimate decision, but listen to your subordinates. They've been there, done that, and they understand, and they don't, the colonel didn't know you as well as we knew you. He didn't know your background. He didn't know your history or what you brought. So at the end of the day, as a commanding officer, when somebody comes into my unit, I want them filling the best role possible. And if it's a gate guard or an entry controller, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that's just what they're best suited for. But you're telling me this guy has this breadth of experience. Come on, no offense, and we have a big training push going on right now. Let's throw him in there. That's where he's beneficial to my unit. Yep. So listening to your subordinates, swallowing your pride, and understanding the importance of, hey, sometimes I do need to listen to that staff sergeant, and ultimately it's my call, but I have to realistically say, hey, I didn't know that. I appreciate your input. You know better than me, so that's what you're telling me, Sergeant. This is where this guy needs to be. Yeah. All right, appreciate you. Thank you. Yep. That's where he'll be.
Yep. I've seen ego play a big role in leadership decisions too. We had an instance, you were gone for this part, but the last time I was there, I had to qual, and I had a very limited window and qualifications on just M4 and pistol. The new pistol, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
So I was excited. I was like, all right, cool. Well, it's me and maybe 10 other people, and we're all going to qual. And it took us a little bit longer in the armory because several of us didn't have weapons issued, period. So we had to do all the paperwork for that, go find the weapon, do all that stuff.
Sign them out.
Yeah, sign them out. And we were late. We were like, and I'm not exaggerating, a minute or 2 minutes late. Like, actually, we weren't late. There was just a couple stragglers. That was the big problem. This is the stragglers. But we were there. We were on site. And it became this big flex mission where they wouldn't let us qual. So the butter bar that was there with us has to basically fall on the sword and say, it was my fault they were late. It was nobody's fault. It's just the way things happen sometimes. Yeah. And they took everybody. They said there were 2 people that were late. So the lieutenant let one of the people that were late take his spot, so he couldn't qual. So he had to go back to the unit. And I said, I'm an IMA. I don't give a shit. Yeah. I don't.
Somebody can take my
spot that does this stuff, all the time. So we go back and we didn't qual. I didn't qual that year. I didn't qual at all. I didn't even get to shoot the new weapon.
And think about what you just said from a leadership perspective. So in somebody's minds, the 2 people that were late weren't going to qualify because you were late. And they didn't factor in extenuating circumstances, of, hey, we didn't have a weapon issue. Yeah. It wasn't my fault. I didn't even know I didn't have a weapons issue. So when I get there, they have to find my pistol. They have to sign it out. It takes a little bit longer. Yeah. But we're still here. Let's do it. But yet, those 2 people still fired. And 2 people that were on time didn't fire. Yeah. That's an asinine leadership mentality right there. Yeah. Either you say, hey, look, you 2 were late. 2 minutes. I really don't give a shit why you were late. Class has started. You guys come back. Or you listen and you say, oh, I understand. You guys had to call the armor even if you want. Oh, yes, sir, I could verify that. You know, it was kind of already, you know, we had to find someone. Oh, okay, let's press. Because at the end of the day, the end goal is what? We need to get these guys qualified.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And if we were talking a significant amount of time, even 10 minutes, let's say we put you 10 minutes behind, we know that can make a big difference on the line.
Or showed up with an attitude.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many circumstances, you know. But they should have humbled and explain why we were late. And it was 2 minutes as opposed to 10. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. And you know me, being a non-active duty guy, I'm pretty reckless with my mouth. I get it. And you could get me in trouble. But at the same time, if I see bullshit, I call bullshit.
That's why TK didn't like you, because he thought you
yeah.
cocky and arrogant.
Yeah, TK. I was cocky. But I was willing to eat that. That's fine. But yeah, I just, I see these guys and everybody's got a willing attitude. There was one person that was late that stopped at the BX to get hydration. And I was like, you should have had that shit. I get it. And yes, that person, that one in particular person you could make an example with that person.
Certainly.
And I would have had no heartache over that. But here we are. Now you just want to make a point. Mm-hmm. Rather than look at the logic of it. You want to make a point. I don't see the benefit of that for anybody except your own personal ego.
Yeah,
that's it.
Now that changes a little bit because if I have 15 guys in my taser class and 14 show up on time or 13 show up on time and one shows up 2 minutes late and says, hey, I had to sign out a taser, I couldn't find my vest, or I got locked down. I'm like, okay, we'll consider that. And then I have one stud roll in and say, hey, I went to the shop there to get some Gatorade.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to say, hey, these other people already had their Gatorade. Or they wanted it but didn't.
Yeah, they came prepared.
Yeah, how about you show up next week with your Gatorade and you're dismissed. So you have to consider all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could end right there. It doesn't mean, like, if he chooses to go back to his leadership and say, I didn't qual that day, that's on him. Right. But if they don't ask and nobody's making an issue of it, and then you have to come back a week later and you do get qualled and everything's, sworn off, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed on the paperwork, that was kept. That's a good way to be a leader. Or you could say, all right, this little shit showed up late because he stopped at the BX to get a beverage and then gave me attitude when I decided to talk to him about it. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to send an email to your sergeant. We say, not only was he late, I tried to address a way to solve this issue and not going and getting beverages, and he gave me an attitude.
Right.
Now you can kick rocks, sir.
Yep.
And you'd be lucky if I can get you in this cycle. So, yeah, I'm all about it, man. Mm-hmm. But how do we fix that? How do we, as a person with your wealth of experience as a leader and a good leader, you got the reputation. It's not people that listen to my show know I won't. I would say, yeah, you were okay. Like, as a leader, I would tell you the truth if that was the fact. But the fact of the matter is that my doorbell? Yeah, somebody's here. But when I'm listening to me, audience, he was revered. I mean, you mentioned Dempsey's name in our squadron, and everybody loved him. Everybody knew him. He was a great leader. So it's a well-earned reputation. And that was my experience with you.
I appreciate that.
And it's one of the reasons why I wanted you on here to talk about this particular topic. And right before you left, the writing on the wall, what did you see? What did you see, the good, the bad, and where it should head when it comes to leadership?
Yeah, so to me, I think the good is very simple. I think it's something that's been around since medieval times, quite honestly, is you have a standard, and you have to have a standard and communicate that clearly to your subordinate personnel. And even go so far as to communicate why you have that standard, the importance of that standard. In our line of work, you understand it as a police officer, as a security forces member. It sounds cliche-ish, but people's lives are at stake. So if you're not to work on time, or if you didn't do a spark test on your taser, or if you didn't chamber around into your 9mm pistol, dude, lives are at stake. So our standards have to be communicated clearly and held. You know, people have to be held to a standard. But also, too, you have to understand as a leader that, you know, and you wouldn't think this in the military, but there's exceptions to every rule. You have to be able to have some flex built in there. And maybe not so much from the perspective of, hey, you went to, you know, pull your trigger and you didn't shoot the bad guy and the bad guy shot your partner because you didn't chamber around today, dumbass. Don't do that again. Well, no. Come on. Yeah. But we gave the example of late for class. You know, hey, relax, man. You got locked out of your car. You're 5 minutes late. I can see that you're sincere. Chill. Come on into class. We've already filled out our answer sheets. Just sit down and relax. We'll get you caught up. As opposed to the guy that comes in, you know, with his bag of Licky Chewies and his Gatorade, and he's 10 minutes late, and everyone else already got their stuff, and he comes in, and you're like, oh, okay, so you prioritized that, your own personal comfort and desires over these guys, class starting on time, you know, so that's a no-go. Recognizing the differences between, hey, sometimes standards are not going to be met, and sometimes it's not okay. It's just a blanket policy. You know, hey, there's no excuse. I cannot accept an excuse. But in most cases, understanding the fact that, hey, stuff happens. In the military, shit happens. You know, we're all human. And, you know, being able to recognize as a leader, hey, we can accept that. Let's fix it. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. But let's press. Let's get the job done. Yeah. As opposed to, hey, I see through your bullshit, and that's a no-go. And I'm not going to accept that or tolerate that. It's difficult as a leader to have one set rule or standard and just, you know, you follow that because it's the easiest thing to do. And either you're here on time or you're not. That's it. And I've seen a lot of leaders. Yeah, that black and white style. Yeah, the black and white. And as a general rule, my experience is that you can't lead like that. Stuff happens. You know, you have to be able to adjust fire, as they say. I will say this. If I know that you will be forever consistent, black and white, and never waver, I'm okay with that. No. It's not my style. I don't agree with it personally. But if I know that you are going to be, because I know some cops like that. It could be their mom. Yeah. They're going to write the ticket. Yeah. Doesn't matter. That's awesome. Because I know what to expect. Yeah. The expectations are clearly written, and I know there's not going to be a play with this dude. Like, these are the standards, these are what he's going to go by, and there is no gray area. Yeah. But the greatest leaders, the great leaders, the good leaders, they understand there's a gray area and everything. Exactly. And to me, it's called big picture leadership. I understand that, okay, yes, that kid was 2 minutes late to my class, and I could tell him, hey, kick rocks, go home. I don't want to hear your bullshit. I don't want to hear your excuses. You weren't on time, and go home. But I understand big picture leadership. Hey, you were late. You overslept a few minutes, and you couldn't find your freaking boots, or the dog freaking ate your homework, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of comes back to knowing your subordinates. If I know Eric Levine is a good, straight up, honest kid, and he just had a bad day, you gotta work with him. Let's get in the class. Let's press. Let's not even focus on that, because I don't want your mindset to be all over the place. I want you to be focused on the task at hand. So you were late. You explained to me. I get it. Fall in. I also understand that if I don't train you today and your taser qualification expires, you can't go to work tonight. And guess what? That impacts your flight sergeant who's struggling for manning. You know the deal. Yeah. And now he can't post out a post. So I'm basically screwing him over because I am set on this standard of, oh, you were not here on time and I don't want to hear it. So now you're going home and you got to come back next week. Now it's 4 days until we have our next taser class and this kid can't arm. He can't post. That affects big picture shit. Yeah. You have to be a big picture leader. You have to understand that, hey, it's not necessarily about your focus. You have a job and you're just a cog in the wheel. And if this guy doesn't get his taser served or his test taken care of today, he can't perform his job. And that impacts people. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Okay. So with leadership, as you were exiting, what if you could steer the ship? Okay, you see it going a certain way, however you see it going. If you could steer the ship, what direction would you like to see it start going? I think the ship was, going in the right direction. You know, at the end of the day, if the mission gets accomplished, which I'm speaking from our perspective of security forces members, right? The mission of our unit on Lackland was to maintain base security, right? Maintain force protection. And if that job was getting done, there's hiccups along the way, that's to be expected. But if you saw consistent glares or discrepancies in your mission, if base security was degraded, you had gates that were unmanned, or you had holes in your fence that people could walk through because your force protection people weren't going out there and doing perimeter checks, those are the issues you need to address. But you're always going to have the boat listing in the water. It's never going to sail straight, especially anybody that's performed at big level operations understand that you're going to have glitches in the system. It's just never a smooth sailing operation consistently. You have your periods of time when everything's great, but for the most part, you have hiccups, you have waves, you have boat lists left and right, and then you have to recognize that. So as long as the mission's getting done, as long as the people are being taken care of, you roll with the punches. You make the adjustments where you need to, and then you get away from the black and white. Hey, it's either here or it's here, because that's when stuff starts to really go awry, to be honest with you. And you need your people out there doing the job to have a good mindset. They have to be motivated. And if you're ruling with an iron fist, and if you're bringing dissension among the ranks, and you're dividing people instead of bringing them together, you will have big issues in any job, especially in the military. Yeah. Especially in a mission where you're donning body armor and you're grabbing a weapon to go to work every day. That's serious stuff. People that do that, they have to be in. They have to be all in with that. They have to have a certain mindset and motivation to do that. So, yeah.
In a career field where when we deploy, I know that there's the joke, the chair force and all that stuff, but we see real shit. Of course, lots of convoys. Security forces were big into convoys, backfilling with the Army, and doing, prison guard duty with prisoners of war, things of that nature. So there's some heavy shit that they're seeing overseas, and it's kind of a good transition because as a man who did 23 years, you saw a lot of stuff. You did a lot of deployments. Name some of the places that you've been.
So early in my career, we didn't really call them deployments, as crazy as it sounds, but it's the same thing. This was well before the Gulf War. You got to understand, I came in 1984, so at the end of the Cold War era. Yeah. And my first couple of duty assignments were in Central and Latin America. So all of our missions were geared towards either, I mentioned earlier, air-based ground defense, where we deployed assets, resources, aircraft to various parts of Central and South America. And with those resources came security forces members. We had to guard the resources. You couldn't just leave a plane out there in the airfield. You had to have patrols out there. So most of my early experience was just that 90-day stints.
Was that like the Ravens before they were Ravens?
A little bit, yeah.
In a way?
So, yeah. I'll just give you an example. I did 90 days in Honduras, and it was strictly asset protection. We were in a Honduran air base. We had Air Force assets on the ground. Hondurans didn't give two shits about our planes, so we had to basically protect those resources. The same mission that we did in the States, roving patrols and that kind of stuff. We had to do that downrange. And then I went to Peru for 90 days, and we were attached to an Army unit where, it was actually Special Forces guys that were going out, and they were delivering supplies and giving medical attention to these different Peruvian villages. But they didn't have the manpower to have security elements, so we were their security teams. We would drive for them. We would man their, machine guns and the old M151 Jeeps. And when we would pull them to a village, we would set a perimeter. We would take high ground. We would establish security. They would give the shots to the kids, give them all the food, and a couple hours later, we were pulling out and we were driving to the next base.
No shit.
So
How fun was that?
It was amazing. It was incredible.
What was the food?
So most of the time we were in grunt mode. We weren't going into the city and living it up. So it was MREs. It was chow hall type stuff. Yeah. So occasionally, we got a day or two in town here and there, but that was very rare. So that was early on. And then, of course, the Gulf War came to change everybody's life. So, gone were the days of 90-day TDYs. And now we're looking at, the 6-month, 8-month deployments to the Gulf states, and it could be everything from Kuwait to Qatar to, obviously Iraq and Afghanistan. So yeah.
Okay. And as you did that, I'm trying to help people paint a picture. Like, even if in that instance you're away from your family, communication, especially back then, how often did you get to communicate with anybody back home? You didn't have one of these.
Yeah, no, it was tough. Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, early on in the war efforts, it was a lot of pen and paper. Old school, you wrote letters, right? That's what you did.
Yeah.
If you had access to a DSN or a government type line, there was ways that you could get back to a base operator, but it was a rare thing. It is a typical rule, to answer your questions. If you were physically talking on the phone to your loved ones, that was kind of a rank thing. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the vast majority of airmen that were deployed did not have that ability early on. They didn't have access to phones or computers. Now, as the longer we were downrange and the more bases were built up, phone banks and computer banks, and then it was very easy. Technology advanced, and kids were able to, almost daily check their email and fire up emails and maybe make, weekly morale calls and that kind of stuff. But,
okay.
So early on, tough, but, as we were there for longer and longer periods of time, you got to understand that, we started deploying to the Gulf states, probably, wow, man, 91, 92-ish, Desert Storm, all the way through, we're still doing it.
These colors don't run. We're wearing those shirts.
Yeah, so, no.
With the yellow ribbons. Remember that? Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember that. You're probably over there. I was the one wearing them.
Yeah, we tied yellow ribbons around the bases when kids would go down range, and they would untie them. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. All right, so you go through that, and then even after your career, you're still going down range.
Yeah.
The fuck were you doing downrange after your career, sir?
So I had an opportunity in 2019 to go to Afghanistan for a year. And it was, I'll be honest with you, I had a mixture of reasons I wanted to do it. I deployed to Iraq twice and never Afghanistan. And for some sick reason, that was just important to me that I served on that front. And I was at a rank at the time where just not a lot of E7s and E8s were deploying. So I never got to go. Mm-hmm. And I had an opportunity as a civilian to go to Kabul, Afghanistan for a year and work with the Army as a battle captain, working in a base defense operations center. Not a, per se, ground pounder combat mission, but combat support. And, I jumped on it. I saw the listing come up, and I applied, and, you hear the stories about the money. And it was good money. Not tax-free, but, incentive money and the overtime and that kind of stuff you earned as a civilian. It was very financially beneficial, but that was about half of the reason. Honestly, it was just, for me, that is something that is in my DNA. It's something that I love. The smells, the sights, the sounds of being...
The drive to serve in a way.
Yeah, I want to be someplace if I'm going to go and be away from my family, or if I'm going to go and do that kind of stuff, send me to the shithole.
Yeah.
I want to be surrounded by the chaos. I don't want to fucking go to Kuwait and swim in a fucking pool and eat in the chow hall where they're serving steak every Tuesday. I do not want that. Me personally.
Yeah.
I want to go to the crazy place in Kabul, surrounded by mountains and snow and fucking stuff popping off every night. That's what I want.
Yeah. So I'm more the Kuwait guy. I want to swim in the pool. I want steak.
To each their own.
That's what I'm looking for. But no, I understand what you're saying. And I think, too, it goes back to the leadership stuff. I catch myself all the time with these kids that, I say kids, I don't mean any disrespect. Younger generation.
That's a jargon, right? We use in the military, kids.
Yeah. I see these guys and I'm just like, oh, like I see how you're cuffing. I see how you are on the training deck and you've got a lot of work to do. And now you're going to go out and do patrol tonight. I want to go ride with you. Like, I want to be there to overlook, to make sure that you don't get hurt. Don't fuck up on some of these things that you need more work on. But a job's still got to be done. And I could see the same drive in you as a leader. Like, I got my guys, not necessarily guys that have been under me, but I know it's going to be these younger kids that my skill set and my training ability and teaching ability will benefit them while we're over there. I'm going to help keep them safer. So I see a lot of that in you. And I think whether it's a perspective you've thought of or a way to articulate it, maybe you haven't thought of yet.
Well, no.
I can see that.
And that's another reason, I'll be honest with you, that I wanted to go to Afghanistan. And that was my big selling point, actually, to unit leadership, was because they didn't want to let me go for a year. And I was like, sir, you have to understand that I'm the chief of your training staff. And part of what we train on is combat tactics. Now, I don't personally have to get in the trenches and train that. I have a staff to do that. However, I'm the section head. So from the perspective of what my guys see and what our trainees see, I don't want to be that guy that says, oh, yeah, 14 years ago when I was in it. No, I want to be the guy that says, hey, listen up. I just came back from fucking Afghanistan 2 months ago, bro.
Yeah.
You need to take this shit serious. You need to do this. You need to learn this. You need to understand the importance of this.
Yeah.
And that just carries weight with your subordinates and with your students to have that street cred, for lack of a better term. And you see that in the civilian world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the law enforcement street cred is everything.
Yeah.
You know, you have a guy that's been there, done that. It's hard to talk to somebody about, putting cuffs on the bad guy if you haven't done that. But when you've done that, people listen.
Yeah.
They understand.
Absolutely.
Oh, shit, we need to listen to the lead here.
Yep. And it you freshened up. What happened in 2002
exactly
isn't what's happening in 2019.
Yep.
It's a totally different. Yeah. So it can help adapt training and improve things later on. Totally. But with deployments comes stress, post-traumatic stress. I think the new hot term is they dropped the D. No post-traumatic stress disorder. It's post-traumatic stress injury.
Yeah, okay. 6 of one, half another.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate that. I hate the...
Yeah. So whatever it takes to make you feel better about what you're struggling with, I don't care. It's just as long as you recognize it and you try to get help or figure out ways that help yourself get through that. And in that, now we can get into your YouTube channel, your Zen that got you... that started getting you some recognition out there in the civilian world, sir. So I want you to go into that.
Well, it wasn't so much from a PTSD standpoint. I didn't even really think or realize that at the time. It's just I traditionally in my entire life have been a guy that likes to be in nature from a young guy. And I told you early on with the uniform thing. Well, also another thing that always appealed to me was being outdoors. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, in the outskirts. So, if you looked across the street from my house, there was a couple houses, but there was also just vast, wide open desert.
Yeah.
And that's where me and my brother, especially during the summer months, used to go play. We just were out in the desert. And there was something about being out in a wide open expanse, just in nature, dirt, rocks, trees, that kind of stuff, that it appealed to me very early on. And as I grew older, and especially even before I came in the military, I got old enough to drive. I would link up with my buddy, and we would get in my Volkswagen, and we would go to a lake, 2 hours outside of Phoenix, and we would camp, and we would hike and explore and just poke around. And that became a very big part of my life, to where it is something that continued to grow and grow and grow. And I realized the older I got, it wasn't leaving me. If anything, it was getting bigger. I wanted to see more and do more and go further. And I had the resources and the experience and the time to venture further and buy a vehicle that would allow me to go places that people wouldn't go. And that kind of drove me. I've always liked doing that. And then a few years ago, I noticed a couple guys on YouTube that were overlanding, like full time. I'm like, holy fuck, these guys are younger than me, and they're living in their Jeep or their 4Runner, and they're literally overlanding for a living. They're just out there every single day. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
So I slowly started to think like that and put myself into a position and build my vehicle to where I know one day that's what I want to do. And I'm there. Next month, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump in my Jeep. And I tell myself 12 months, but I'm just going to literally get in my vehicle. And on October 5th, I'm going to leave San Antonio, and I'm going to go. I have a loose itinerary, of course, but I'm just going to go.
Okay.
And I'm just going to overland.
All by yourself.
All by myself.
No
dogs, no
document
cats.
the whole thing.
And I'm going to document it. And the YouTube channel honestly came about because I had a lot of friends and family reach out and say, well, dude, that's a long time. We want to see that shit. Where are you going to be? So people told me, hey, dude, why don't you think about starting a YouTube channel? And I was hesitant because it's work, your podcast, right? You've seen, it was scary, right? It's evolved. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about filming, editing, cameras, and I just finally I decided to do it because I listened to, hey, I understand a lot of people, family and friends, but now I'm learning there's a lot of people out there in the populace that live vicariously, for lack of a better term, through you. They want to see you overland. They want to do it and they can't. So they want to see an old guy get in his Jeep and freaking go check out wild horses in the North Mountains of Arizona and film a Sasquatch. And so I'm there. My YouTube channel is serving as a means to kind of let people share my experiences, and I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. And what is your YouTube channel?
So YouTube channel is if you look on YouTube and go to SGT Overlander, so Sgt Overlander, that is my channel. Very new. I don't have a lot of content out there right now in terms of overlanding because I'm not doing it full time. So I have some stuff out there that is just designed to kind of pique some interest and say, this guy seems pretty cool. And maybe next month when he starts doing this full time, we'd really like to tune into that. So definitely would be honored and thrilled if you guys would go to the channel, check out what I have on there, click on a couple of my videos, and I'd really like to have you guys subscribe because next month I can guarantee it's going to be incredible. I'm not going to script stuff. I'm just going to go out there and you're going to see this guy right here, just living it. Yeah. And whatever happens.
Yeah.
And
don't get eaten by a grizzly.
No.
Please.
Yeah, it's my one fear.
Yeah.
In the water, it's sharks. On land, it's the grizzlies.
The grizzlies, because you're going to be going some nuts places.
It's crazy. And, I have done a lot of overlanding, but never full-time. So I've already seen and done and experienced some crazy stuff. I was in New Mexico a few months ago, and some things going bump in the night, and yellow eyes, and it was insane. Yeah. So I'm excited to experience stuff like that.
That's fun, man. I'm the same. I grew up in Michigan, hunting, fishing my whole life. Love that stuff, and I'm truly jealous. I wish I could just go, whether it was just for a month, just a month. The experience you could have.
I love it.
You still got that coffee camp set up on your back tailgate?
Oh, I do.
Do you still got that thing? That's awesome.
Yeah.
First time I met this guy and got to see his Jeep, that was one of the first accessories he had, was like this little coffee station on the back tailgate.
So, hey, dude, I'm telling you, man, and it sounds insane, but one of the things that I love the most about the whole overlanding experiences is just that. So, as a general rule for most overlanders, or for me personally, I'm in bed kind of early because it gets dark out there in the middle of no place early. And I'm not watching Netflix. I'm not freaking, doing whatever. So what do? 8:30, 9 o'clock. It's not uncommon to climb up in the tent and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Get 6-7 hours in. You're climbing down just as the sun comes up. And that is my favorite thing about my adventures is climbing down from my rooftop tent. It's still dark. The sun is just about to come up. And you make that camp coffee from my station.
Yeah, buddy.
And you sit there, and there's not another soul around. Maybe 10 miles, maybe 50 miles, the nearest person. And you watch you don't need the news. You don't need a fucking radio and Bluetooth. You watch the earth come alive.
Yeah.
And things move and stir, and the sun comes up. And it's hard to articulate to people that either haven't done it or don't understand it.
Don't have the same appreciation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is just, but there's something about I cannot do that without my coffee. I have to have that every single day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I'm a Black Rifle guy. I think right now I've got hazelnut and gunship. Those are my two that I like to drink. I was really surprised Black Rifle came out with a hazelnut. So
yeah, a little Gucci for the Black Rifle
for them.
But hey,
but they stay true. It's mostly a coffee thing. It tastes like a coffee. It doesn't taste like you're drinking
foo stuff.
Sugar.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a coffee diva. I don't like the old black, put air on your chest. I like a little flavor, and I'll put a little, cream in my coffee, and I like the different flavors, and I like that. I don't want gun oil every morning for before breakfast. But so.
I think that's where Black Rifle does it right. You can, if you are a coffee connoisseur and you like. You can tell the difference what type of beans are being used. I'm not that level, but I can tell. I can tell a smooth coffee from a harsh coffee.
Yeah,
and the ones that I drink from Black Rifle are smooth and potent and delicious. I love them.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
You talk about morning coffee. I'll tell you people that are watching this. I'm not going to say I don't care if you subscribe. I want you to subscribe, but go to Sgt Overlander, and I have a video out there. It's called Morning Coffee View. It's a short. It's a short clip.
A little short clip.
And it is. I was up in the Davis Mountains camping, and I got up in the morning one time, and I made my coffee. And there's no filter. The video, people think, oh, you put a filter on your camera. I filmed it with my cell phone. And the view that I filmed that morning with my video camera, with my phone, is what I was drinking my coffee as I was panning the perimeter of my camp. And if you don't get it, you'll get it after watching that video.
Okay.
And that's...
And if you still don't get it, it's not for you.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Nothing, no love lost on that. I tell people that the same thing. Like when we discussed my podcast when I first started it.
Yeah.
You know, some of the most common tips I was given is like, dude, it's too long. You weren't the first person.
No.
It's too long. And I'm like, look, it's just how I do it. And like, I just want it to be a conversation. If the conversation comes to a natural dwindle and it took us 20 minutes to get there, okay, cool. Then it's 20 minutes. Yeah. But we're 2:05 in and we're still going strong. We haven't slowed down. There hasn't been any awkward pauses other than when you drop my shit. But,
she's holding firm, and I'm trying to keep my hands off. But no, I kind of want to digress a little bit because you had talked, and I want people to understand this, is there's a lot of people out there. First responders is typically kind of what your audience, I'm not going to say is geared towards, but right now I think that's the vast majority of people that tune into this podcast.
For sure.
And, post-traumatic stress disorder on whatever level or however you want to frame it is a real thing. And I struggled for years with a lot of first responders and ex-military and police officers do denial. And I said, hey, dude, you didn't stick your fucking bayonet in somebody's fucking neck and twist it, man. Suck it up. You did this and this happened and you saw this. But that's don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
You didn't fucking, do this and shoot 27 people in a freaking machine gun bunker. And I had to realize over the course of time that, hey, it's a spectrum. It's different, and it affects people different. And now I'm learning that my overlanding is such a huge outlet for me.
Very therapeutic.
Incredibly therapeutic. For me personally, I've long recognized my triggers. I call them triggers, right? Mm-hmm. And my triggers personally are crowds and traffic, being boxed in, being surrounded by vehicles or people. Because in my experiences, that's when bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
When you have no way out. So to get out in an environment where you do not have to worry about that, and hey, I'm not going to see anybody today. Yeah. I might see one vehicle when I go to my next camp. Extremely therapeutic.
Yeah.
You can let your guard down. You can say, wow, I can breathe. I can take it in. I can see this. I can appreciate this. I don't have to worry about people to my left and my right. And I love people. I'm such a people person, but I don't like to be boxed in and surrounded and have that in my mind where, hey, what's he up to over here? What are they doing over here? And what is this person doing? And
that hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. And to not have to worry about that and just let your guard down and say,
And I've tried to explain to even my wife. She's like, you're always so chill. Like she's like, I've hung out with some of your, some of the younger officers and stuff. We go out as couples or whatever. And she's like, I can see the difference between you two. Like, you are so chill. And she's like, and he's so high strung. And goes, I'm in the same mindset that he's in. I just hide it.
Right.
I'm accustomed to it. He's not yet. He's still learning. Mm-hmm. I said, but if you don't think I know there's an exit over here to the right, that guy over there sitting at the bar has a bulge sticking out of his back right side. I was like, I saw all this as we walked in. I'm so on top of it.
Yes.
My hypervigilance is just, I'm used to it. So I seem chill. I was like, but in my head, I'm already here, and here.
Yes.
I was like, people can't fathom that. Mm-hmm. They cannot, if you don't live this lifestyle, it is something you cannot fathom.
Yeah.
So when you get into a place, like for me, it's fishing on a kayak. When I get onto a kayak and I'm fishing,
that's awesome.
That's my, and I don't get to that. Like I haven't done it yet this year.
I think I saw a kayak.
Yeah, that Hobie out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's the ones with the pedals.
Pedals, pedal drives.
I've been in one of those. Man.
They're amazing.
It's amazing.
Yep. But that's my zone. or hunting. I like, hunting's a little different because you're still vigilant, but it's not the same vigilance.
No, it's not the same. And honestly, I've heard so many tales. I'm not a hunter, but I've heard so many tales of PTSD sufferers that say, hey, hunting is therapeutic. Yeah. Because here's the deal. You put yourself in that mindset, you use your tactics. You have a weapon. You're camouflaged. You're stalking an adversary.
Yeah.
All that stuff translates into what,
Yeah. You're feeding that
You're
fire.
feeding that.
Yeah.
But you know that elk is not going to shoot back. And you know you don't have to worry about an ambush over here to your back. Yeah. So you're still tapping into that adrenaline rush. Hey, fucking gun, dude. I'm sneaking up on something and I have a mission. I'm trying to bag an elk. Yeah. And I'm using tactics in my training, but I don't have to worry about this or that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I get out on the water, and like you were saying, I just feel, it's like that. I think they call it grounding. It's like grounding. Putting your feet in the grass.
Grounding, yeah. My girlfriend talks about it all the time.
Oh, really?
She's a hippie chick, and she taught me about grounding. About and I'm like, what the hell is that? Or earthing, but grounding. Yeah. Where it's where your skin, typically your feet, you're in touch with the earth. With the earth, grounding, yes. And there's something to be said for it. I say I get it, but I don't know that I get it at the level that she does or other people do. But I can definitely
for sure.
see it for sure.
Yeah, it's like even with a baby, when mothers first give birth now, they have this thing they call it skin to skin. And there's a transference there. There's something different.
There's something to it.
And I think that's the same way with the outlanding or overlanding, and then me being out on the water or...
So I got to tell you, man, this was last year, maybe a year and a half ago. There's an organization out there called Heroes on the Water, or maybe it's called Heroes on the Water, but it's a veteran organization that is geared...
Is that with Quinn? Does Quinn do that shit?
Yeah. So shout out Jeremy Quinn. I love him because he was the one that said, hey, you've been begging me forever to come out. And I'm like, dude, I don't like deep water. I'm not really a kayaker. I definitely don't.
Well, where he goes, it's like this deep.
I definitely don't like to fish, but I went out with him to the Gulf of Mexico, and he put me in a Hobie. Yeah. I didn't know shit about kayaks, and all the guys around that were there, you're cutting your teeth in a Hobie, you little pussy. You're lucky.
It's the cream of the crop, babe.
I went out there in the Gulf of freaking Mexico, dude. And I'm not going to profess I would do it every day. It's not my jam, but I can see the appeal, and I can definitely see the appeal for somebody that suffers from PTSD and anxiety. And I do. I love it.
Yeah. I tell people, I don't think I suffer from PTSD, at least not on a daily, annually, any type of cycle. There are things that will trigger me on certain topics and stuff like that, and I only recently learned that, but it's that level of hypervigilance. When I get out on the water, it's like I finally realize about myself how high strung I have been. Because then when I get out on the water and I realize, like, okay, you are not sneaking up on me. No, it doesn't matter. Maybe an alligator. I guess I got to worry about that. But nobody's sneaking up on me. There's nothing that I need to particularly worry about except for slaying the next bass. And man, it is just. It's nice to just let go.
To let go.
To let fucking go.
Yeah. And I don't profess to know all the ins and outs of the diagnosis and stuff like that. I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think there are some people, by the nature of their profession, police officers, that, being hypervigilant is part of the job. You have to be hypervigilant. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have, post-traumatic stress disorder. But I know from personal experience and from diagnosis that a big portion of what I suffer from is just that, is the fact that, and I have been for as long as I can remember, hypervigilant to a fault, to where like I'm checking my door locks in my tiny little 700 square foot apartment 5 times. I know they're locked. I fucking know they're locked. You just locked it, motherfucker. But you just brush your teeth and you're gonna go out there and you're gonna lock it again, or you're gonna unlock it and you're gonna look out and you're gonna click it and you're gonna click it. You're gonna make sure that it's just it's just one of those things where you have to recognize, hey, is it this? Or is it this? And at the end of the day, maybe really it doesn't even matter. You recognize that, hey, I'm hypervigilant. It's a trait. It's just something that I am dealing with, and anything I can do to mitigate that, i.e. kayaking or overlanding, where I don't always have to be concerned about that, is it's a blessing. It's therapeutic. you need that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've never done it. I've never done the overlanding. 3 Jeeps, but it was always for going through the trails, making it to the campsite. That was it.
Yeah. And that's overlanding. There's so many definitions of overlanding. I've had people on my channel ask, what do you consider overlanding? And its core, it's overland travel. You're traveling by land, not by water, not by air. You're going from place to place in a vehicle on land. But for most of the overlanding community, it's not an established campsite. It's off grid.
Right.
You're out there in BLM land or public land or national forest, or you're just in the middle of nowhere, if you will.
Yeah. That's how I see it. You're not catching a Wi-Fi signal somewhere. You're not doing any of that shit, but you're literally just living out of that vehicle that got you there.
Yep.
And I really like your rooftop tent setup, because I know I got to find out what his name, what the company is. But there's a company not too far off from where we're at that does something specifically for Dodge Rams and some other trucks.
Yeah.
Because I would love to be able to have that setup, but still use my bed. My bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So here's the thing. The cool thing about overlanding is it's very popular nowadays. And these companies have geared and honed in for years now on, okay, it's not always a Jeep. You have guys in a Tundra or a FJ Cruiser or a Ram truck. And, a lot of guys have their daily driver, if you will, but they also want it to be an overland vehicle.
Yep.
So how do you go about that? And there's so many different systems out there nowadays that you can configure. And with the pickup trucks especially, the biggest thing are these racks that go over the bed.
Yep.
And you can still mount tents and things to the rack, but you still have your bed space, you can still haul cargo and stuff like that. And, I just do it enough to where, to me, a rooftop tent I do it, I'm going to do it every single day. So I'm going to be living out of my vehicle every single day. So if I'm a weekend guy, I can sleep in the back of my Jeep. I can pitch a ground tent. But if I'm doing it every single day for a year, I want that comfort. I want that security. And I want to be able to, in 2 minutes, pop my rooftop tent, be up off the ground, memory foam mattress, comfortable, out of the elements, don't have to worry about critters crawling up. And it's a thing for me. My tent is made
elevated tactical position,
exactly. Yeah. So my tent is made by a company called Free Spirit Recreation, and I'm not endorsed by them. I don't even know who Doug Dempsey is, but good product. I love their tent, and it's amazing. But if you want a rooftop tent, you can spend a little, you can spend a lot.
Yeah.
Just like everything else out there in the overlanding genre, man. There's levels.
So have you ever taken anybody out with you to go overlanding?
I've had more than one person in my rooftop tent, and that's all I'll say on this podcast.
Okay.
Now, I will say this. Yes, I've been out with buddies. TK and Quinn and I have been on a couple of overland journeys, and I dig that. I'm definitely a solo guy, but there's something I would love to have you come out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, it's incredible to have your band of brothers.
Yeah.
You're still off grid. You're still in the middle of nowhere, but to have your coffee with your bros, your buds. Yeah. It's amazing. So I definitely have taken, bro trips, but I'm looking forward to, I call it my vision quest. I call it a calling. I want to be by myself. Yeah. And if some shit is
nomadic adventure,
or something breaks or if something pops off, you got to figure it out, Doug. You're by yourself. You can't look at TK, your Jeep mechanic expert, and say, "Hey, fix it." You got to figure it out. Yeah. So
yeah. So, in your adventures where you've taken some other people out there, any fun stories to share?
Crazy crap, dude.
I'm trying to set it up because I know there's some good ones.
I will tell you a legitimate one is TK, Mr. Kane, and I went to New Mexico last year, out in the Cibolo National Forest outside Albuquerque. And we were way off grid, dude. It was fucking amazing, dude. There was nobody out there. And we set camp. It was like our second night. And we had a campfire going. And it was kind of chilly and sitting around by the fire. And I had to go pee. So I had my headlamp on my head. And I walked away from the fire, maybe 20 feet up to the front of my Jeep. And I left my pistol in my seat. Didn't think I'd need it. And I'm up by the front of my Jeep. And I'm peeing. And I hear like this crack, this branch and something. So I turn on my headlamp. And I'm scanning. And I'm thinking it was an owl. I don't fucking know. All I know, dude, is 30, 40, 50 feet in front of me through a thicket of trees, about 8 feet off the ground, I see yellow eyes. Round. They're not, like slits. They're round eyes. They're yellow and they're bright as shit. And their eyes, they're looking dead at my light.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's still. I mean, like I'm fixed on it and it's fixed on me. And I'm like, TK.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up, dude? We're a little bit liquored up. It's like, I said, you need to come over here. And make sure I pick my pants first. TK comes over and I'm like, bro, shine your light. So he sees my headlamp, but he turns his and he sees the same thing. So we sit there for maybe 20 seconds and whatever it is disappears behind a tree. We don't see it anymore. So we turn our lights off and go back to campfire, finish our evening. And that night we're laying up in a rooftop tent. And he's in his tent, I'm in mine. And we were on top of this creek bed. And it's like 2:30 in the morning and we hear rock clacks. Clack. Clack. So at first I'm thinking, okay, a rock might have fallen down into the creek bed, but I hear it like 2 or 3 times.
It's like rhythmic.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder if he came to that. So the next morning, I go to sleep, and the next morning I wake up and I have coffee. And I'm like, oh, did you by chance hear? He's like, rock clacks? I said, you heard it? He said, yeah, I heard like 2 or 3. I was like, holy fuck. He said, I'm not going to shit you, dude. I didn't want to freak you out, but I heard something around your Jeep, and I looked out around your Jeep, and something was there. I couldn't tell what it was, but something was moving around your Jeep, and by the time I got my light and kind of shined it, whatever it was, disappeared stealthily. But we kind of talked like,
what the fuck? Yeah.
So that intrigues me. I'm a Sasquatch guy.
Chupacabra down there.
You never know.
You never know.
So, yeah. But, yeah, so that was something that was somewhat legit. And then the next story was nuts. This was just a few months ago. Me and TK and Jeremy Quinn were in Big Bend. And, dude, we got tore up. Just sitting around the fire, just talking. And, I mean, we got fucked up.
This was the story I was looking forward to.
Yes. And I climb up the ladder to my rooftop tent, and it comes unhooked. And I'm like, boom, I fall down in the dirt. And I'm like, fucked up. I'm laying there, and I'm like, okay, I hope nobody saw that. Because at the time, Quinn, who was the most sober, he's helping TK up his ladder so that he doesn't fall. So I get my ladder up, and I dust myself off, and I get up in my tent. And, long story short, the next morning, Jeremy's like, hey, dude, you fell off your ladder. I saw it. And then TK, he's late. He's supposed to cook breakfast that morning. And I see like one shoe sticking out of his tent and the other foot's barefoot. I'm like, bro, come on, man. We gotta break camp. We gotta leave. Plus, you're supposed to cook this morning. He rolled out of his tent in the middle of the night and fell on a metal bear box. Fucked himself up, dude. And then he spent like 3 hours on the ground from like 2 a.m. till 5. He just laid there. He's like, I couldn't get up. He was dusty and dirty, dude. He had these masks. It was insane, man. So we laughed about that forever.
And TK's a little guy, so he's God, what, dude. 5'5", 5'6", somewhere in there, maybe 140
pounds.
Yeah. He's not a big guy. He's like a Conor McGregor.
We laughed at, you have these mature, experienced military leaders, and we're falling out of our tents and just doing shit that you did when you were 20. But
regretting it the next morning.
Oh my God! But it was amazing. Those are memories, right?
Hell yeah.
We'll talk about those for the next 20 years.
I remember, and it's funny when I got this story because I got it from all 3 of these guys,
and it's consistent, right?
At different times. So the story's consistent, but each one's perspective is the fucking way different. It's hilarious. Jeremy's like, these drunk motherfuckers, and I'm
and TK was trying to fight Quinn. TK is a very ornery drunk. For a little guy, when he gets intoxicated, he wants to like fight. And he's like, hey buddy, let me help you in your chair. You want to go? Come on. I don't want to go, dude. I'm trying to help you to sleep. And I'm just the opposite, dude. I'm
happy-go-lucky drunk.
Happy-go-lucky, yeah.
That's how I am. Maybe we'll get you to sing karaoke tonight.
Oh, okay. Ring of Fire.
Yeah, there we go. Oh shit! Well, all right, buddy. We're at about 2:30.
Okay,
which is a fucking perfect time.
I was nervous. I told you, right? I didn't know how this was going to go.
I told you. Let me steer the ship, buddy. I get you going the right way.
I love it.
I think we covered all the topics that we have. Anything else that you want to plug? So we got Sgt Overlander. You can find you on Instagram, correct?
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's SGT Overlander 65. And on YouTube, right?
65?
My year. I know, dude.
65?
There we go.
Fucking serendipitous.
And on YouTube, it's just SGT Overlander. So you guys, please, man, check me out. I really would love if you would subscribe to the channel. And even if you don't, just follow me. I'm telling you, man, a year in my Jeep, just agenda-free overlanding.
Yeah.
I already know what I've experienced out there doing it part-time. And I'm just telling you, man, come October, and it's just the seasons are changing. Yeah. Snow's going to start to fall. It's going to be an incredible journey.
Hell yeah.
And I'm excited for it. I'm nervous. I'm apprehensive, but more than anything, I'm excited. And I want to share that with as many people as I want to, and maybe inspire, whether it's that person that, has PTSD that says, oh, it's a pretty good outlet. Or if it's just somebody that says, hey, I'm going to sit here on my couch and, get fat and eat potato chips, but I'm going to watch this guy every Sunday post a new video. I would love that. So
yeah,
super excited for that. And then the only other thing I really want to plug, and I wanted to make a point to this, is we all know what tomorrow is, September 11th.
Yes, sir.
And, it holds a special significance in our hearts as first responders. And even though you were a young guy when that went down.
I was first year in college.
But the bottom line is you're an American.
Yeah.
And you lived it. And you lived an attack on American soil, which was exactly what it was. So everybody at the time was impacted and affected by that in one way, shape, or form. But just a shout out to our first responders, man. The men and women that particular day. It's a cliche, right? But you have those people that when stuff hits the fan, they run towards it, while others retreat. And that's indicative of a first responder. That is what we get paid to do. But people go above and beyond every day. So just a moment of silence for tomorrow to the people that actually went towards the danger that day, and the people that are still wearing the uniform. Who knows? We never hope to relive that day, but history tells us that we will. And it doesn't have to be September 11th. It could be a major vehicle accident on 410 or an active shooter in Podunk, Wisconsin. People that are wearing those uniforms that are running towards chaos. So just a shout out to all those brothers and sisters out there that do that every day so that others don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's we've fallen very far from that message since September 11th.
I agree.
And it was 01, I believe, right?
2001.
Yes. Yeah. We've gone just the atmosphere, the thought towards first responders, not just cops. As much as we're the face of the criminal justice system. I get it. Cops are always going to be a target, but we got firefighters getting ambushed now. Exactly. They pet puppies, they cook food, and occasionally they get to put out fires. Why are you attacking our firefighters?
Yeah,
that's what our firefighters. But they were there.
They're rushing into harm's way too with regards to gunfire, because the tactics and the mindset of active shooter response has changed to where now we're realizing, hey, we have to get into a building or an area that is still a hot zone. Still, there's an active shooter involved, but we need to clear a foothold in a space, and we bring these first responders in so that hey, we're not bringing people out to get treated. We're bringing them, here inside the affected area. Yeah. And you have people who understand that you do. Yeah. You have firefighters and you have paramedics that are donning body armor, and they're jumping in stacks behind police officers, and they're going into the fray. Yep. And that just takes a special breed, a special mindset, a special mentality to willingly go and do that.
Yeah. One of the things my department's done is we've got a TAC Med unit.
TAC Med.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
And that's if your department doesn't have a TAC Med unit and you can afford to do it and you've got the manpower, highly recommend it, because that way we can save our ambulance people, we can save our firefighters, because typically that's what a firefighter is coming in to help with. They're coming in to help with medical issues. So if we can give them a little reprieve because they don't have a firearm on them, let's let them stay back and get a TAC Med unit. Highly recommend it. Military basically is the ones that invented that with having an army medic, right? Combat medic, if you will, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's how they got started. But I like that message, sir. I think this was a good episode, man.
I think so too, man. I'm glad you had me up, and I'm definitely glad I made the trip, man.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be dope, so.
I know. I'm just sorry that you decided to stay in the ghetto hotel instead of the...
Yeah, dude, I very rarely get cheap with my accommodations, but I just...
You could have put the tent up and just stayed the night in there.
I didn't even think so, man. Pop the tent right in front of the house.
Yeah.
Homeowners might have had something to say about it.
They know who I am. They love it. Yeah. Shoot. I'd have been like, all right, you got the forward perimeter. I'll cover the back for tonight.
Yeah, all right.
All right, bub. I appreciate you coming out, man.
Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.